Welcome back to another deadline stream for FPL in Gameweek 13. It's been a long while, a couple of weeks now. We are returning from the international break and we've got some huge games this weekend. Manchester City versus Liverpool kicks things off. We've got Aston Villa versus Tottenham tomorrow. And of course, we've got Newcastle versus Chelsea later today. So many great games, so many injury concerns and flagged players, but we're going to be covering all of them in this stream. And I've done so in all of my videos as well throughout the last 2 weeks as well. So Aiden says my team is Areola, Turner, Cash, Trippier, Gabriel, Tsimikas, Taylor, Bowen, Gordon, Salah, Gabriel, Diaby, Haaland, Watkins and Mabama with 0.4 million and one free transfer. What should I do? Well, you got the same flag players as I do, and I think Haaland and Cash will be completely fine, especially in the case of Haaland. With Bowen, it's a bit different. I think that's more of a doubt, but I'd still lean more towards Bowen starting and playing today, and as a result, I think he's a hold. So I don't think you really need to make a transfer. You could just roll it this week, Aiden. You could maybe consider Gordon or Diaby to Eze, as I'm also looking to do. I think Mbeumo's the best long-term midfield purchase, but I don't think you need to make a transfer. Lager says, hello Dylan, good to see you. Likewise, I wish you a pointful weekend. For some reason I read painful weekend, but that's good, Lager. Likewise. JP says, hi Dylan, Matoma and Ferguson to Eze and Solanke. Worth it, 2 free transfers. Yeah, I think so. I'm not a huge fan of Solanke, but I do think he's better than Ferguson because of minutes. And with Eze, I think he's a great free game week punt. Longer term, I'd look to sell him, but I think for the next 3 game weeks, he's a great midfielder to buy. What to do with Cash? If so, who do you reckon? There's a few defenders I'd sell him to, like Saliba, but if you're not really going to go for him, Anderson, another Palace defender, I don't think there's too many more you'd want to go to this week necessarily. So I can see the appeal of holding him, especially for Game Week 18. But yeah, I think if you don't have Saliba, I'd definitely go to him. Yeah, so Aviad says, good morning. Ferguson, Gordon, or -4 if you have striker under 7 million. Yeah, I would start Gordon, I think. I'd go in that direction. Yeah, a strike under 7 million, you're probably looking at Solanke. Not my favourite, but at that price and below, he would be up there. Top 3 Bowen replacements, says Aiden. I'd say Mbeumo, Eze, and Saka, if you can count him as one. Top 3 cash replacements, Saliba, Anderson, and the third one's where it gets a bit trickier, but I would also look at someone like Mikalenko. Singh says, hey Dylan, good to see you. El Padrino as well. Aviadem says, I have Haaland, Salah, and Saka, but I want another captain. Choose from Eze, Alvarez, or Sterling. I'd go for Eze. Not a huge fan of captaining those 3 players, but you want to go different, and I'd go for Eze there. What would be your recommendation from a Matoma replacement up to 7.4 million? Long-term Mbeumo's the best. There's no doubt about it, but what I'm considering myself, if I make a transfer this week, is going for Eze, and then next week buying Mbeumo for another midfielder, because I've got 2 or 3 midfielders that you could arguably sell, especially Diaby, and if Bowen is out, he'd be the other one. Patrick says, hi Dylan, did Matoma out for Mbeumo this week? Who would you bench out of Gvardiol, Share, Gay, and Cash this week? From those 4, it's probably Gvardiol. I think Liverpool will score. Start 3, says Yusuf, Baldock, Odogi, Cash, Saliba, Gay. Saliba, Gay and Cash is what I'd go for. Yeah, I agree with Lager. And by the way, there is a feature that I have done in a lot of streams over the last year, which is to highlight messages. For some reason, I'm not able to do it in this stream. I'm going to see if I can fix that for the next ones, but I think it's to do with the system update that I've done with my software. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame. If you have to choose Son or Watkins for captaincy, what would be your choices? Hope it would be Son. He's probably my #1 pick this week, actually. Liverpool win 2-0, says D. Raven. Yusuf says bench 1. Darwin, Alvarez, Watkins, and Mbeumo, Bowen. Tough one. Probably Darwin. No worries there, Yusuf. Maguire or Lascelles, says Zulu. I would go for tough, really, really tough one, but I think I would go for Maguire. Yeah. Solanke for captain differential, go safer, Salah or Son. I'd go for Son captain, and he's not going to be that popular amongst all FPL players, but across the Twitter community, it might seem that way. Solanke for captain differential, yeah, well, I just covered that. Okay, so yeah, we're now catching up. Emmy says, good morning, Dylan. I have a minor problem. Lascelles, Tsimikas, or Baldock. I'd go for Lascelles there. I just don't see Tsimikas keeping a clean sheet. You're relying there on attacking returns, and I think he gets 1 max against City, so I think his ceiling is 4 or 5 points, whilst Lascelles could get 6 to 9 points. I know it's not that likely, but I'd say it's more so than Tsimikas. And as for Baldock, I wouldn't start him at all. Start 3 out Saliba, Kashadogi, and Akanji, says Saf1. It would be the first 3, and I'd bench Akanji. Dutta says 4-4-2, Trippier, Lascelles, Cash, Gay, transfer in Palmer to play 3-5-2, or save 1 free transfer. I think 4-4-2 and save the transfer, because Palmer away to Newcastle, I don't think his ceiling is that high. Mitoma to Eze, and next week to Palmer, or Mitoma to Mbeumo. Yeah, look, if you're going to go for Eze, it would be for a free Game Week punt. I'm not a big fan of buying him just for 1 week and then selling him in Game Week 14. So my overall preference would be Mitoma to Mbeumo. Discord in my head says Sterling, fair enough. Khalid says, hi Dylan, I got Bowen, Haaland, Mitoma, Cash, and Gusto injured. I already transferred Doku in. Should I take a hit or free hit? Well, Haaland should be completely fine. Mitoma is ruled out. Cash also is likely to play this weekend. And as for Bowen, I would actually say he's going to start. That's just my personal opinion. Of course, the others are pretty much ruled out. But should I take a hit? Not necessarily, I think, unless you're down to 10 players or something, or you've got a really weak player like Baldock coming in. Islam says, bench 1, Nunez, Adingra, Alvarez, or should I transfer out Adingra? If yes, who should I transfer him? Out of those 3, I'd bench Nunez. I just don't back Nunez to do that well against City. He might get some chances, of course, and it could be a high-scoring game, but I would back City to win the match, and I think Alvarez will do really well. J Ward 10 says Cash to Gay or James or Bowen, Diaby to Mbeumo. So, yeah. Cash to Gay. I think my preference would be Diaby to Mbeumo long term. I think that's the best transfer. Rawan says Archer, Cash, Adogi, Bowen, Lascelles start free. And a lot of start free questions, especially revolving defenders. I'd start Bowen for sure. I'd also go for Lascelles and possibly Archer in your situation. Koopsy Koop says, good morning, Dylan. Should I do Gordon to Palmer and Cash to Saliba for free? Don't want to sell Gordon, but that's the only way to get Saliba. Yeah, I can see what you mean. I actually favour Gordon this week over Palmer, but long-term, Palmer has great fixtures. Yeah, I would do it. It's not ideal, I'd say. Not completely ideal to do it this week, but overall, you are improving your team. Punjabi says, hey Dylan, how are you doing? All good, all good. It's been a couple of weeks, of course, but we are back all of a sudden. Thank you to Awali for moderating the chat. I appreciate it. No spamming, otherwise your message will be suspended, basically. Matt's Collectibles puts his team, Doggy, Cash, Semenyo on the bench. Recommendations. In terms of starting 11, I think you've nailed it. But in terms of transfers, I also think you don't really need to make one. You've got decent bench cover just in case. I would maybe put Cash above a Doggy in the rankings just because he's got more attacking potential. But in terms of transfers, I don't think you need to make one this week necessarily. If you want to take a punt for 3 weeks there, though, Mats, I would consider Diaby to Eze. But that's about it. Doku, good choice this week. To be honest with Doku, he's done well against the smaller teams, so to speak. He hasn't done it yet in a big game. Maybe he will do so against Liverpool. Who knows? But yeah, I'm not a big fan of him because of minutes, to be quite honest with you. I had him in UCL Fantasy, and he's been a disaster for me on that fantasy format, so it could be similar here in FPL, and I think his minutes and his returns will be very inconsistent, so 1 week he can produce a double-digit return and then blank for 4 or 5 games in a row with a lot of benchings along the way, so I personally wouldn't go there just yet. Alvarez or Adingra, says Yogesh. This week, I've got a good feeling about Alvarez. I'm going to go for him. Sambi Lukonga, great name, says, I have Raya and Turner, 0.4 in the bank, thinking of making no transfer. Yeah, you are going to be down to 10 men this week, unfortunately. I mean, what you could do is Raya to Johnston. It's a bit unfortunate and not ideal because you might want to get Raya back in later on, but yeah, I would consider Johnston, especially as a 2 or 3 game week punt, and then you can always go back to Raya later on in the season. We've got a super chat here from Sheriff. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Hi, mate. Start Lascelles or Cash and start Palmer or Archer. Lastly, Haaland versus Son captaincy thoughts. So I've got a very similar debate going on as well. I've currently got Lascelles starting, but I am leaning towards Cash potentially just for the attacking potential, and I'm going to show you some polls that will help you out with your decisions here. Palmer or Archer? I would go for Palmer just because he's on penalties and he's got better underlying numbers. There's no denying that Archer has the better fixture though. And as for the last question, I'd go for Son over Haaland for the captaincy. So thank you very much for the questions and the super chat. I appreciate it. Let me know if you've got any more. But yeah, I think that would be my answers to each one of those respective questions. And now let's actually go through some different screens before going back to all of your questions. And of course, this could help you with some of your decisions and it could answer some of the things you want covered, really. So in terms of the FDR, the fixture difficulty rating, Nottingham Forest are top. Burnley, Fulham, West Ham and Bournemouth are in the top 5. You've also got Newcastle quite close there to the top. Man City, Brentford, Man United, Luton and Brighton are in the bottom 5, whilst Aston Villa, Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal are also quite low down in this list. Predicted points, according to Fantasy Football Hub, Heung-min Son is top for Gameweek 13. Haaland, Salah, Bruno Fernandes and Gordon are in the top 5. That's pretty good there for Gordon. I'm quite happy with that. Let's see if you can translate that into actual points. But I do agree with that assessment of Son being the best captain this week and Haaland possibly second and Salah third. I would have also put Bowen quite high up on this list, but because of the doubt about him starting, he is going to be lower as a result. Saka, Eze, Mbumo, Trippier and Watkins also complete the top 10. In terms of the price changes, we could look at Palmer, Saliba, Gay, Hwang Hee-chan, and a host of others approaching price rises. Of course, there's going to be a lot of transfer activity over the next hour or so. And in terms of those going down, you've got Mitoma, who's almost certainly going to go down, minus 246%. And then you've got James Maddison, of course, and Gusto because of their respective injuries. In terms of Drafthound, they have updated some of the suggestions. They are saying Bowen to Mbumo is a good long-term transfer, Tsimikas to Mitchell, and Cash to Gabriel. Some decent suggestions, but I don't think I'm going to be doing any single one of them just yet. And yeah, here are some polls that I put out on my YouTube channel, starting with the best Gameweek 13 captain. Haaland has won this vote, not by as much as usual, but 51%. Son is second with 22%, and you've got Salah third with 19%, and then other has 8%. I've seen some different shouts there in the comment section. Then in terms of one of the midfielders to buy this week, you've got Palmer, Mbumo, Eze, Gordon. Mbumo is top, Eze second. No, sorry, Palmer second, Eze's third, and then Gordon is last. Not too surprised by that. And then I provided the update here that David Moyes said in his press conference, and 77% of you are saying that you're going to hold and start Bowen, and only 23% are going to sell. And then this one is also quite similar. These are my transfer plans, basically, this poll. So Diaby Gordon to Eze, you've got Diaby Gordon to Mbumo, that has won the vote. Diaby Gordon to Palmer, and then roll the transfer is second. And that's pretty much what I'm leaning towards. But yeah, it's either that or buying Eze as a free game week punt. And then the last question is, who would you start in the defense, Lascelles or Cash? And Cash is winning with 65% and almost 900 votes. So be sure to go on the community tab of my YouTube channel and be sure to vote in every single one of those. And you're going to get them weekly pretty much for FPL and UCL Fantasy. And it can help you with your decision making. Check all the links in the description below for the Patreon, Championships Discord server and the FPL League as well. And now let's have a look at... yeah, let's go through a stats comparison of two key assets in FPL this week, Eze and Mbumo, the short term versus the long term. I think Mbumo is the better asset overall, but if you're buying one right now, I would consider Eze, especially if you can afford to have him for the next 3 game weeks. If you can only have Eze for one, I don't think it's worth it, and I just buy Mbumo directly. I'm not a big fan of buying Eze for Luton Town away and then in Game Week 14 selling him to Mbumo. It's not a bad option necessarily, but I'm just not a big fan of that sort of policy. So I personally think Mbumo is the best overall, but for the next 3 game weeks, Eze is the standout midfielder in my opinion. So I'm going to leave that on for a little while longer, and then I'm going to go back to my team. Yeah, Adrian, no news unfortunately on Liverpool City so far. We should get something, or could get something, probably in 1 hour, 20 minutes, but for now, nothing. Yusuf says Kudus or Mbumo or Eze. Mbumo is the best overall, like I just covered. Eze is maybe the one for a short-term pump. For the next 3 game weeks, he's the best overall, but Mbumo is just the best midfielder of the 3, so that's my answer. Is Nketiah, does he have a chance to start, or should I start Alvarez? Nketiah has a chance of starting, but I don't think he will. You've got Jesus and Trossard who can play up front. Jesus is back from injury. He played against Argentina. So, yeah, I wouldn't go for Nketiah. I'd start Alvarez. Zulu says Cash, Tsimikas, Maguire, Taylor, start 2. I'd go for Maguire and Cash. Kudus or Soucek? Kudus. Start Johnston or Areola, says Antoine. I would go for Johnston. Best Rashford replacement, I have 2.7 million in the bank. Well, Son, if you can afford him, I think is a great option this week, and some people are selling him. I'd say hold him, especially this week. Longer term, I think Saka is a better choice. You've also got, well, I would have said Bowen, but the injury doubt does cast a lot of doubt there. So, yeah, I think Saka or Son is completely fine there. And as we alluded to earlier, I think Eze is a great free game week punt. Leno or Areola? I think I'd favour Leno just about. Alvarez to Solanke, good or not? I think it's decent. I do like Alvarez this week, though. I've said it before. I've got a good feeling about him against Liverpool. He actually did really well the last time they played each other in the 4-1 win for City at the Etihad back in April. But yeah, I think Solanke, I can see why you're doing it, but if it was me, I'd personally hold Alvarez. FPL Glory Algeria says, with Cash and Trippier, who would you start? Wan-Bissaka, Taylor, Lascelles. I'd still go for, well, I think I'd still go for Lascelles potentially. So what I'd maybe do is Trippier, Lascelles, and Wan-Bissaka and bench Cash. Any updates on Haaland and Bowen? Not really, not any from yesterday or since yesterday. So Haaland, it looks like he's going to play. He's been training. He's had a few niggles according to Pep Guardiola, but a few days ago, Fabrizio Romano reported that he's going to be available for Liverpool. So that shouldn't be a doubt. As for Jarrod Bowen, that is a bit more in question. David Moyes said that he hopes he's going to be available. It's going to be down to a late fitness test, but I think he's going to start as well. Should I start Archer or Nketiah? Probably Archer. Mitoma replacements, Mbeumo. I think just long-term, very simple, Mbeumo's the one. Instead of selling Gordon, I can do Cash to someone cheaper like Aït-Nouri, Colwell, Castagna, but they just don't look too good. Yeah, I agree. I think with Colwell, he's got the really good long-term fixtures, but you wouldn't start him over the next 3, I think. So, difficult one. Aït-Nouri's an interesting choice too. I'm not a big fan of Castagna, so I'd probably go for Colwell out of the 3. Eze or Palmer for Mitoma, and also should I take a hit for Cash out for an Arsenal defender? As much as, you know, Arsenal defenders offer good value, I don't think it's worth a hit. Eze or Palmer, I think over the next 3, Eze, and then you can always buy Palmer around Game Week 16. I think that's the play if you can afford to do so. Salah captain, he's probably 3rd or 4th in my overall list. If Bowen was completely, you know, fine and we knew he was going to start, I'd actually put Bowen ahead of Salah this week, but of course, he's always a good choice. He's got a great record against Man City. He scored, I think, in his last 4 meetings with the Citizens, so I like that. Zinchenko or Tsimikas for long term? Tsimikas. With Zinchenko, you've got the competition with Tomiyasu on the left-hand side. Ben White could be back soon, and as a result, Tomiyasu will shift back to the left. So, yeah, I'd rather go for Tsimikas up until January. Salah or Haaland or Solanke captain? I mean, for me, it's Haaland, then it'd be Salah, then Solanke. Look, Solanke's not a bad shout with a fixture in mind, but I'd always favour the likes of Haaland and Salah. So let's now go back to my team. No changes from the team selection video thus far, except I've taken the vice captaincy away from Bowen and put it on Salah. But yeah, apart from that, I could start Cash over Lascelles. I've got Archer to cover just in case Bowen misses out. And I am considering a move to Eze as a free Game Week punt. And in Game Week 14, the plan is to buy Mbeumo, probably for Gordon or Diaby, to be quite honest with you. Did Mitoma to Eze last night to avoid price changes. What do you think of the move? Was between Eze and Palmer. Yeah, I think that's completely fine. As I just mentioned to someone else earlier, I think that's the play, you know, to get Eze for the next 3 game weeks and then move him on to Cole Palmer. I'm looking at something similar myself. Start Adingra or Archer? Really difficult one, but probably Adingra. Hello Dylan, start 2 out of Mbeumo, Nketiah, Adingra. I just bench Nketiah there, Nemanja. So Mbeumo and Adingra would be the ones to start. Will says, sold Alvarez to Watkins, had no idea what to do, but still have wildcard in hand. Yeah, look, with Watkins, the fixtures do turn very soon. You could argue they've already turned now, but I still think he's a good option long term. With Alvarez, I would like him from Game Week 16 onwards, so let's see how it all plays out. But either way, Watkins is the second best forward in the game right now. Long time no see. How's everyone doing? Done Saka and Eze moves. Wish me luck. Yeah, good moves. I'm also considering Eze. If I make a transfer this week, it probably will be him. Good luck with that. Solanke for Alvarez, good transfer. Yeah, we answered that earlier. Or sell Bowen from Boomer. I would buy in Boomer, but not for Bowen. I think I'd keep Bowen and just ride it out. Even if he misses out this week, it's fine. Bowen is a great long-term hold. Welcome, FPL Cortex. Welcome, Ashish, as well. Hi, Dylan. I made Bowen captain. I personally wouldn't captain him because, although I think he's going to start, I'm not completely sure about that. Whilst with Haaland, I'm pretty much 95% certain that he's going to start. With Bowen, it's a bit different. I probably would go elsewhere just because of it, but yeah, for me, Bowen either starts or doesn't play at all. I think that's probably the policy, so it could be worth the risk, but yeah, I think I would go elsewhere, just in case. Yeah, Mikalenko, I mentioned earlier, I think he's a really good defender, especially if you're looking for a cash replacement, 4.5 million. You might not want to start him this week against Man United, but still decent. Isak in future game weeks, yes, with Wilson potentially out for, well, a month or two. I think that's a decent shout. Who would I start between Jay Alvarez and Darwin? I'd go for Alvarez. Darwin's in better form, but I'd back City in that match. And Alvarez, I just have a good feeling about him. He scored in the last meeting between these two sides. Take out Cash or Gordon. I'd rather take out Cash. Start Douglas Luiz or Lascelles. Interesting one. I think Douglas Luiz has the highest ceiling, but I'd probably go for Lascelles. Bernardo or Kudus? Oof, that's an interesting one. Probably Kudus. The Budget Traveller says Solanke for captain punt. Yeah, look, it's not a bad shout, but I'd stick with Son. I think that's the way I'd go in your situation. Son would be my captain. Salah would be the vice there. Durgish says, any suggestions on Burn replacement? Cash, Gabriel, Gay, Taylor, other defenders? I'd also say Mikalenko is a great shout. Ideally, though, I'd go for Saliba. I think he's the one to go for. Yeah, Sand, I'm not going to fall for that. I saw that. So, yeah. Emerson or Mitchell says Hamza. Mitchell. Hey, Dylan, start Neto or Areola? I'd go for Areola. It's quite a close call, though. What about Alvarez? If I had him, I'd hold. I wouldn't buy him necessarily this week, but I've got a good feeling. Saliba too expensive. Thoughts on Gabriel? Yeah, he's a decent shout, but there's going to be the odd benching, I think. He's more prone to rotation this season than Saliba. And he hasn't really offered any attacking threat as he usually does. Captain Watkins or Salah? Both good shouts. I think I'd still prefer Salah. Not by much, though. Play Bell over Tsimikas now he's back in contention. Not really backing Luton Town for a clean sheet, but I think that game could be quite low scoring. Maybe 1 or 2-0 Palace. With Tsimikas, though, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool conceded 3 or 4. I know some people are backing them for the win, but yeah, it's a difficult one. I think I'd go for Tsimikas still, just for the attacking potential. I start Gvardiol over Cash because I captain Son. What do you think? The thing with Gvardiol is he doesn't have too much attacking threat. And with Cash, I just think that always plays a part. I know you don't want to have that kind of clash there, but if you've also got Salah, you're going to have it regardless. So it's a difficult one, but I'd go for Cash personally. Son captain, yep, he's my favourite. Captaincy option this week. Start Palmer or Watkins? Watkins. E.G. Ryan says, have you made a transfer? No, I haven't made a transfer, but if I do, it will be one of my midfielders, Gordon, Bowen or Diaby to Eze. Yusuf, thank you for the super chat. Thoughts on my free hit team? Jose Sa, Anderson, Shaw, Emerson, Keta, Bruno, Son, Hwang Hee-chan, Eze, Erling Haaland, Wood. Okay, yeah. Solanke, Trippier, Reece on the bench. Interesting. Now, one thing I would possibly change is instead of Paqueta, I would favour Kudus if you want that kind of West Ham attack. Even Bowen, which is going to be risky, but you do have Solanke on the bench. I think if I were you, Yusuf, I would have Bowen instead of Paqueta. And if Bowen misses out completely, you've got Solanke on the bench to come in, and I'm quite happy with that. I think Chris Wood could be a decent shout this week. Luke Shaw is now back. So yeah, Jose Sa away to Fulham. I know Fulham have been quite poor offensively, but I'm still not too sure about Jose Sa. If I was going for a goalkeeper, it's probably Johnston. Maybe Ramsdale is up there, but I think Johnston would be my favourite defender. Then again, you do have Eze as well and Joachim Andersen. You've also got Emerson there in the defense, which is interesting. So yeah, I mean, I'd actually favour Trippier over Emerson as well. So there's a few things I tweak here and there personally. Hwang Hee-chan is a nice little shout there, but yeah, I'm just not too sure about Jose Sarr. I'd maybe go for Johnston and go all in on the Crystal Palace defence. I'd go for Bowen instead of Paqueta. You've got Solanke to cover, and I'd start Trippier over Emerson. Thank you very much there. James instead of Saliba, not for me. Great long-term fixtures, but for me, Arsenal have a better defence, better underlying numbers, and Saliba is just much more secure long-term. Reece James is far too injury-prone, so... keep Cash or who's his replacement for 5 million. It's difficult because Joachim Andersen, Saliba, two of the best defenders to buy, are over that price threshold. So maybe I'd look at Mikalenko, but yeah, you could just keep Cash, bench him against the likes of Tottenham and Man City and Arsenal, and then start him in the other games. Any other Rashford replacement? I've already got Son and Saka. Mbuma, very simple one. Start Archer or Gordon, says SJ. I'd start Gordon. Trying to be different, Bernardo Silva or Jota. Jota's a better FPL asset overall, but I'd probably favour Bernardo Silva just for the fixture. I think Man City will win. I think Bowen will play. That doesn't mean he definitely will. You know, that has been put in doubt by David Moyes, and all week we've had, you know, a few injury updates about him, but I think he will. Leno over Areola, good. I think I'd do that, yeah. Trying to be different, yeah, just covered. Start 2, Cash, Lascelles, Tsimikas. Cash and Lascelles, I'd bench Tsimikas. No injury updates since yesterday. Any news on Cash and Bowen? With Matty Cash, he's been in training. With Bowen, the latest update we got yesterday was that it's going to be down to a late fitness test, basically. That's pretty much all we know, and David Moyes hopes that he's available. Take out Cash or Gordon. I take out Cash. Why is no one talking about Saka captain? He's not a bad shout, but I just don't think his ceiling is that high against Brentford. I think it'll be quite a low-scoring game. So either side, I think Brentford or Arsenal, the maximum goals they'll score is 2. I just don't see a 3 or 4-0. I think the other games will be higher scoring, especially Aston Villa, Spurs, and Man City, Liverpool. Leno Areola, I'd go for Leno. Any definite word on Cash? Well, like I said, he's been training all week. So, yeah, he's been nursing a shoulder injury. He's trying to not aggravate it, basically. That's why he didn't travel with Poland. But, yeah, I think he'll be fine. Walker, worth getting for long term. He's still a decent shout. Man City can be a bit frustrating. They've got one of the best defenses in the league. Great underlying numbers, but they don't keep enough clean sheets. And Walker doesn't get that many attacking returns or bonus points. But, yeah, I still think he's decent. Start Taylor or Lascelles, have Trippier. I'd still go for Lascelles. Emma says, I own Salah and Haaland, but I'm thinking about captaining Saka. Yeah, look, with Saka, I just don't really think Arsenal will score that many goals. I think it'll be a tight game. They are the favourites to win it, but I'm not so sure about captaining Saka personally. It's not a bad shout, and Saka's so consistent. That's what I like about him, but I'd probably favour Haaland there out of the 3. Juntao puts his team. 2 free transfers used, Gordon and Matoma to Bowen and Palmer. What to do? Well, I mean, you're well set up. I wouldn't take a hit or anything like that. I think your team speaks for itself. And your bench is also decent just in case. Archer is not a bad shout this week to come on. So yeah, I think Gordon is a good option long term. So there might be some regrets there, but I think selling Matoma makes perfect sense. Of course, he did buy Bowen early, it looks like, but I think he'll start. Captain Son or Salah, says Rafik. I'd go for Son. Ahmed says I already have Mbuma. Do I transfer out Doku for Eze? To be honest, I probably would. As a free gimmick punt, and then you can do Eze to Palmer. Who will play as a striker if Bowen does not play? Yeah, with Antonio out as well, it could be Danny Ings, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's probably the next one. There are some people saying Obama could get some more minutes. I think that is true, but not to start, I think. I'm a United fan, been busy, but want to focus. 2 free transfers. Højlund, second striker. Bowen, think he's fine. Diaby, Cash, Martinelli, keep. Rasmus, the biggest problem, is he fit? The last update I saw, and it was like a week ago, was that he's expected to basically be out for the rest of November. I'm going to have a quick look at the latest update provided by Ten Hag, and let's see if we can get anything concrete there. And Man United, by the way, have 13 injury doubts and suspensions, which is absolutely ridiculous. So Rasmus Højlund, the latest we have on him, and this was from yesterday. Rasmus is a close finish. He is training, he is down and outside, he's making very good steps, and we'll have to wait until tomorrow to make a final decision. So down to a late fitness test. Yeah, based on that kind of diagnostic, I think he'll be fine. I think he'll start, but I'm not a big fan of him in FPL. He's had 8 big chances, he scored 0 of them. And also, I think Man United just struggled to click offensively in the Premier League. Ariola or Sanchez says Aviad. I would go for Ariola. Udogie or Cash, who to start, says Shadow. I would go for Cash. Presna says bench 1 of Bowen, Diaby and Hwang Hee-chan. Probably Diaby, which, you know, is an interesting one because I think the way Spurs are at the moment, they are there for the taking. But from those 3, based on the fixture, I would bench Diaby. I may be lucky to get 30 points this week. Well, you never know. You never know. Hopefully you'd get much more than that. We have covered that, Rafik. If you had Bowen but not the bench cover, would you take a hit? I think I wouldn't take the hit still. I'd keep him. Lager says, I'm so tempted to go Bowen to Eze this week, but not sure I want to be late next week for Mbeumo, so I have to do Gordon or Martinelli to Mbeumo next week. What are you thinking? I'd keep Bowen. I think he's a long-term hold, even if he misses out this week. Having 2 free transfers next week, Lager, and being able to buy Mbeumo is the way to go. Yeah, Livermento Punway saying, I'm not so sure, and we saw last week already that he's not nailed on. If Bowen is out, I have to play Cash and Udogie. Yeah, it's not ideal, but it's not, you know, I can think of worse circumstances, let's put it that way. Gordon or Palmer? This week, Gordon. I think longer term, maybe Palmer. Is holding Bruno good for the next few game weeks with having Saka, Son and Bowen alongside him? Not a big fan of Bruno at the moment. I think he's kind of like feast or famine. You'll get a huge return in a certain game and then you'll blank for many others. High ceiling, bonus points magnet when he does get goal contributions, but Man United have just struggled to click in the attack. Holding Bruno isn't that bad necessarily. The fixtures are there, but I'd rather go for Mbeumo long term. So maybe keep him for this week and then do Bruno to Mbeumo in Gameweek 14. Cash to Saliba. Already have Gabriel, says Arnav. Yeah, I think I'd still do it. Awali says, hello guys, who's new to the channel, please subscribe and like. Thank you very much. As he says, smash the like button and subscribe for new. RMS to get this stream to over 200 likes. It'd be massively appreciated. James says, my midfield is Son, Saka, Salah, Bowen and Hwang. I don't think you need to make any changes right now. In the future, though, you could consider Hwang to Mbeumo. If you've got the funds for that, I think that's perfect in Gameweek 14. News about Bowen. David Moyes hopes he's available. That's pretty much all he said. It's going to be down to a late fitness test. I'm on wildcard. Which are the best 8 attackers in your opinion? Off the top of my head, and assuming they're all fit, I would say Saka, Salah, Bowen, Mbeumo, Palmer, the front 3. Just Arch as a budget striker, Haaland, and I'm a bit less keen on Watkins now with the fixtures, but I'm going to still include him for now. So, yeah, that would be my 8 attackers. Captain Son, Salah, Haaland. I'd go for Son this week. Thank you very much, FPL Diamond, as well. I appreciate it. Start Lascelles or Cash, says Rafik. I'm going for Lascelles right now. Welcome, Rinaldi. Thank you very much for watching. Mbeumo or Palmer this week, says Osama. This week, Mbeumo still. Hey, Simicas or Bulldog, says Genius Gamer. Still Simicas. Haaland blank Virgil will stop him. Not so sure about that at the Etihad. Van Dijk has been great this season, but yeah, Haaland at the Etihad is a different beast. Love transferring Maddison to Bowen before Bowen got injured. But Bowen can still play. As Moyes said yesterday, they're hoping that he's fit. Kevin Nolan was on TalkSport a few days before saying that Bowen looked decent, but let's wait and see. I think he'll be available. Irma says, hello, Ariola or Leno, who to start? I'd go for Leno. Tobogo says, start Darwin or Selma Tuma for a -4. I think I would start Darwin. And then next week do Matoma to Mbeumo there, Tobogo. Yep, I think Bowen will play there, Yusuf. FPL Diamond says, I did Matoma to Eze and Lamptey to Reece James. Thoughts? I think that's really good. Reece James, you know what the deal is with him. He's injury prone. Lamptey also is, to be fair. He could get more minutes with Estupinian out, but I think that's a good transfer. I think Matoma to Eze makes perfect sense. Then you can do Eze to Palmer in Gameweek 16, which a lot of people will be looking to do as well. But I think that is a really good way of navigating the fixtures. Jeremy Sukdar says, hey Dylan, I bench Nunez, brought in Eze and Captain Haaland. Will Haaland start? Yeah, I'm convinced, to be honest. I'd be very surprised if Haaland didn't start. And as for that, benching Eze and buying Eze, yeah, I think that's completely fine. Alex says, morning mate, would you start Archer or Hwang? I'd go for Hwang. He's been a bit underwhelming recently. I think Pedro Neto is a big miss, but once he comes back, I think Hwang's stocks will rise up again. James says defenses Mitchell, Lascelles, Gay, bench Kabore, Simicas. Any changes if I have 1 free transfer and 0.4 million in the bank? Well, with those funds, no. To be honest, because ideally, what you'd want to do there, James, is upgrade Kabore to Saliba or an Arsenal defender. You don't have the funds to do that, so maybe wait another week, roll the transfer, and then let's say, for example, I'm not even sure what your team is, but you can make a downgrade in midfield or attack, and then that will give you the funds to upgrade Kabore to an Arsenal defender. I think that's a really good way of navigating it. Oromara says, hello Dylan, what do you think about Cash to Maguire and Douglas Luiz to Eze for a -4? I would only do that if that's your way of affording Eze, and I'm guessing that's the case, but yeah, Cash to Maguire, I'd still rather keep Cash, to be honest, over Maguire. So it's a tricky one. Captain Edouard, thoughts? Edouard's been decent this season, but I just wouldn't go there. Crystal Palace, they do have Elise back. Eze returned the other week, but I just don't trust Edouard like that, to be honest. I think Bowen will play, as I've covered. FPL Diamond, thank you. Free hit this weekend. I do have a free hit video on my channel. I personally wouldn't do it, but it depends on the team as well. If someone's got like 5-6 injury doubts and they're proper injury doubts like Matoma ruled out, then in that scenario you could use it, but I'm still looking to deploy it in a blank or double game week. Play Cash or a doggy. I favour Cash for the attacking potential. Music Kiwi says, at the moment my points are 701. Is this a good score? Definitely, considering it's your first time playing. It's been a bit of a weird season. I think it's still quite tight between different ranks. There's plenty of ways to make up the points. So, yeah, it's a decent start, to be honest. Your prediction for City-Liverpool game? I'm going to go for 3-1 City. I'll go for my predictions in a little bit, actually. Maybe after the deadline. If not, you know, if we have some time, maybe beforehand. But, yeah, probably 3-1 City. Gordon or Martinelli to start, says Bicker. That's a tough one, but I think I'd go for Gordon. Really close call. Who would you bring in for Matoma? Mbeumo long term is the definite, well, the simple answer. Let's put it that way. Morning, mate. Start one from Darwin, Bowen, and Lascelles. Bowen. I'd still start him, and then if he doesn't play, you know, I wouldn't really back him to come off the bench. So, yeah, I'd start Bowen. Dylan, should I put in Nunez for Højlund? Well, longer term, I do prefer Darwin. That is true, but not sure if I'd buy Darwin this week. I know why you're doing it, because Højlund is an injury doubt, but I personally think Højlund will be available and start. Best captain is in West Ham if Bowen is not playing. Who is the best captain? Kudus is my favourite. Ward-Prowse is always decent, I think, but I just don't like Ward-Prowse's positioning, which is why I sold him a few weeks ago. Hi, mate. Would you start Palmer or Archer? Palmer, because of the penalties, the underlying numbers, and Chelsea have looked good in the big games. Miguel de Brito says, my team is Areola, Taylor, Trippier, Anderson, Douglas Luiz, Son, Salah, Gordon, Alvarez, Haaland, bench, Turner, Kabore, Archer, Cash, 2 free transfers and 2.3 million on the bank. Any suggestions? Interesting one. Yeah, so you're starting Taylor as well at the moment. Not a big fan of that. So what I look to do in your situation there is upgrade Kabore or Taylor, depending on your preference, to Saliba. I think that is a really big upgrade. Your midfield is fine, but one other move I'd consider is Douglas Luiz to Eze. Then in Gameweek 14, you could do Gordon to Mbeumo. I think you could still afford that. And then around Gameweek 16, you can do Eze to Palmer. So I think you've got some decent transfer plans laid out. You've got flexibility with that money in the bank and 2 free transfers, Miguel. Let me know what you think of that. Kevin says, I'm the guy with a headache from those weeks ago here. It's here again, slightly biased to Rasmus. 2 free transfers, so who for Rasmus can't go above 7.5 million. I I'm not sure exactly how much Darwin costs, the exact price, but if he is under 7.5, he is my favourite forward. I think. Yeah, Darwin 7.5. So really, I'd still look at Darwin or Alvarez at that price threshold. So yeah, that would be my answer. Welcome, it's K-Man. Thoughts on Gibbs White? I actually expected more from him. He hasn't been at his absolute best this season in terms of output. He had a great under 21 Euros tournament, but yeah, I'm not really that interested, to be honest. The House of the Rank Rising Son. Yeah, I think Son will do well this week. I hope he doesn't, but I think he will. Did Cash to Sufal. Thoughts? Yeah, if you don't have Areola, that's absolutely fine. You've got that West Ham coverage, and Sufal is the best way to do that. 4 assists. The underlying numbers aren't particularly great, but he has been decent. Doku versus Trent could be, yeah, it could be, but Trent does have the occasional game where he does lock down the defender, lock down the opposing winger. It's not that often, but it does happen. Jeremy says, Dylan, should I bring in Nunez for Højlund or just leave Nunez as my first sub? Yeah, I just leave Nunez. To be honest, I'd rather have Nunez long-term anyway. I went for Matoma to Eze and captain and thoughts. Someone else also asked about whether they should captain Eze, Sterling, etc. Don't think that's a bad shout. I think Eze would be in the top 10 this week. I personally think Palace Luton Town will be quite low scoring, but Eze could get the goal, the only goal of the game, and get the bonus points. So yeah, I do like him. Captain Son or Haaland? Son. Jayant says start one from Lascelles, Darwin and Cash. I mean, usually I would favour the attacker in Darwin. I think I'd go for Lascelles, which sounds a bit crazy. Who should I captain, Shishavain? Up to you, mate. It's completely up to you. I personally think Son's the best captain in Gameweek 13. Then it's probably Haaland, then Salah. I'd probably put Bowen still in the top 5, but that's assuming he does start. Before his injury, he was actually in my top 3. Captain Son or was that Haaland? Still Son for me. Son, Haaland would be second, as I just mentioned. Your thoughts on Chris Wood since Awani is out? Yeah, look, Chris Wood, I think is decent in certain weeks. Someone actually asked me about him a few weeks ago. I think they were playing Luton Town, if I'm not mistaken. And he did very well in that game. So I think in certain weeks he can be really good, but he's just not someone I'd actively buy for the long term or someone I necessarily trust. Yeah, exactly, Fingan. I think Kabore is the one to sell. Burn to Lascelles, yeah. I mean, with Lascelles, I'm a bit less keen on him now because Botman is nearing a return. We don't know when that will be. And Newcastle have so many injury problems as well. FPL Marius says, my team. 2 free transfers, would you do Cash to Saliba? Yes, I would. You do have Gabriel already, but I think I would. The other move I'd look to make potentially, whether now or in future weeks, is, yeah, Gordon or Diaby to Mbuma. Best Maddison replacement, forgot to do my team last week. I think long-term is Mbuma, for sure. If you want someone for the next 3 game weeks, though, Eze would be my answer. So it just depends on your short-term or long-term preference. You know, what do you want to go for? And I think long-term Mbuma is the solution. Tsimikas or Baldock, I'd go for Tsimikas there, genius. Foden has a strong record against Liverpool. Yeah? Yeah, I think Foden in certain games, you know, is really appealing, even against Liverpool, for example. I remember that season when City beat Liverpool 4-1 at Anfield, and Foden was really good that day. Same with Gundogan. I actually had Gundogan on my bench, and then he came on. And that week I also had Calvert-Lewin with 13 points on my bench. Good times. Would you sell Martinelli to Eze? I probably would, you know, for the next 3 game weeks, and then sell Eze to Palmer. Thoughts on Kudus captain? Yeah, look, Kudus, I've been impressed by him in certain games against Arsenal in the Carabao Cup, and also just a few days later in the Premier League, and he produced an 11-pointer, but not sure if I'd captain him, to be honest. He hasn't been consistent enough in terms of output for me to, you know, really back that. If it was Bowen, though, that's completely different. But yeah, look, Kudus is a decent differential shout. I just personally wouldn't have him in my top 5 captains this week. Prince Izzy says, hey, Dylan. Ariola, Turner, Gabriel, Trippier, Cash, Tsimikas, Kabore, Son, Eze, Bowen, Salah, Diaby, Haaland, Alvarez, Mabama. Your thoughts on Bowen to Mbeumo? I personally would hold Bowen. I would buy Mbeumo, by the way, but not for Bowen. I think what I'd do in your situation is roll, and then do Diaby to Mbeumo next week in 14. Play Palmer and Gordon. Palmer and Son or Gordon and Son, says Hakun. So basically, yeah, who to bench? Well, I'd go for Gordon and Son and bench Palmer. Dawson Sterling. He's had a good season overall. In terms of FPL, he's been very inconsistent, but yeah, last 2 games he's produced returns. I think overall, my preference will be Palmer, but Sterling will be the next best Chelsea attacker for me. So yeah, I'd rather go for Palmer, but he's not a bad shout. Would you start Alvarez or Darwin this week? Alvarez. Would you do Matoma to Eze from -4? Difficult one. I'm not sure if I'd do it from -4. If you've got decent bench cover, even if it's Lascelles or Archer, I'd probably just keep it like that. Play 2 of Hwang, Watkins, Archer, Lascelles, says James. I would play Hwang and Watkins. Shivane says, hey Dylan, here's my team. Should I make any changes? I think I covered your team earlier, Shivane, and I don't think I'd make any changes this week necessarily. I think you're in good shape. Hey Dylan, Diaby to Mbumo or roll the transfer? I think I'd roll the transfer. It's K-Man says, your thoughts on the free hit in Gameweek 18 as of Mbumo, Alvarez and Haaland with 2 weak 4 million defenders? Yeah, looking ahead, I think free hit in Gameweek 18 looks decent, but by that point, you might also have a stronger defensive line, and you might only have, well, Mbumo, Alvarez and Haaland missing out, and you can always sell one of them and then bring them back in the week after. So it just depends, really. At the moment, my team looks pretty decent for Gameweek 18. Once I buy Mbumo, that's 2 players involved, but things change. I might even buy Alvarez around Gameweek 16, and then I could be in the same situation as you and have the same opinion. But yeah, I think a free in Gameweek 18 is definitely looking pretty viable. I'll be making a video when we get to that point about the best free hit team. Hey Dylan, start Gordon or Archer? Gordon. Aviad again says, Cash, Mikalenko, Dean, Simicast, choose 2. I would go for Cash and Mikalenko. Thoughts on Bruno Fernandes as captain over Haaland? I personally wouldn't do it. I think Everton will be well up for it. It's their first game since they got the points deduction. They're now second bottom of the Premier League, and I think the atmosphere, Goodison Park, is going to be absolutely rocking. I'm not sure if Man United will be able to handle that. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but I just haven't been impressed by Man United this season. Fernandes has been pretty good overall, but even he hasn't been as absolute best, so I personally wouldn't captain him. Lars Thorin says, have White, Dallo, Bowen and Højlund. Plan to move Højlund next week, but if all these 4 don't start, I should probably move it forward. Advice? Well, White could be back. Arteta hasn't given too much away on that. I think Bowen will start personally, and if he does, I think you're absolutely fine. As for Højlund, I also think that'll be the case. Maybe I'm being a bit too optimistic there, but yeah, I think you're in good shape anyway. Dylan, my backline is Areola, Gabriel, Cash, Gay. Should I keep my defense or take a -4 to replace the defender? I don't really see a need to do that, to be honest. I know Cash is a doubt, but even if you've got Lascelles on the bench or something like that, you're absolutely fine. Solanke captain. Decent differential shout, but I personally wouldn't go there. I know Sheffield United is a really appealing fixture, but I don't think Bournemouth will score that many goals there against them. It could be 2-1 either way, basically. So yeah, I don't think I'd captain Solanke. I'm probably just going to say to most people, stick with Son, Salah, Haaland, etc. Haaland will be above Salah in my ranking, and I think Son's #1. Captain Salah or Son, like I just covered. Why no one is considering captaining Saka? Someone just asked that earlier. Yeah, he's very consistent. I think he can do well, but I don't think his ceiling is as high as Son or Haaland this week, to name 2 examples. Look, it's not a bad shout. I'm not saying Saka's a bad choice, but I'm just not really expecting Arsenal to score that many goals. My prediction, I think I'd have Arsenal scoring 1 or 2 goals, basically. I'm kind of tempted to play Archer over Alvarez. I'd personally play Alvarez. I really think he's going to do well this week. Should I play Simicast? Depends who you're playing him over. Would I play Simicast over Cash or Lascelles? No. But would I play Simicast over Baldock, Taylor, and all these defenders? Like, I don't know, Bell? Yeah, I would. Why you don't own Son? Because you can't cover everyone. That's basically it. I sold them a few weeks ago. It wasn't ideal, but it was also part of my transfer plans to afford some players that I wanted, like Bowen. So it is what it is. You can't have everyone. For the Matoma to Eze from -4, I have 3 injured players on my bench. Yeah, okay, I'd do it. I'd do it. That's why context is very important sometimes, so I appreciate that. I would go for it. Best Madison replacement, Mbeumo. Thank you for moderating the chat, Lager. I appreciate it. Why do people seem so sure Wood is nailed over Origi the GOAT? To be fair, this season it's been the case where if Awani is not available, Chris Wood has been starting. Hazik says, hi Dylan, is it worth it to transfer Bowen to Parma and Cash to Saliba for a -4? I can see what you're doing there, but I personally would keep Bowen. I think he's a long-term hold. Yusuf says, Solanke to Alvarez and Kudus to Matoma, good or better option? I wouldn't sell Alvarez to Solanke personally. I wouldn't do that. As for Matoma to Kudus, yeah, absolutely fine. But if I'm being honest, I do prefer Parma, Mbeumo, I think, as the Matoma replacements. Baldock or Tsimikas, I'd go for Tsimikas, as we just covered. It's really hard to get rid of Turner. Yeah, it is. And to be honest, I've been saying this for months. We all have that. It's going to be a matter of time, before Vlachodimos comes in. Captain Salah or Son, I've covered. Eze captain over Haaland, I wouldn't, but Eze is a good shout. You confident about Haaland starting? I'm almost certain, to be honest, that he's going to start. I'd be very surprised if he didn't. Mitoma to Gordon for a -4. Yeah, a bit similar to a question posed earlier. I'd only do that if you've got absolutely no bench cover and you're down to 10 men. But in terms of Gordon, I like him long-term. But if I'm buying a midfielder this week, I'd rather go for Eze. And Mbeumo also looks better. Share to Mikalenko. Yeah, I think that's a decent shout. I don't think Mikalenko will sustain this level of performance and the attacking numbers, but I think he's still pretty decent. Start Darwin or Archer? I'd actually go for Archer this week. I'm not really backing Darwin at the moment. With Jesus back, is Martinelli still a hold or sell? Yeah, that's a good point. Martinelli does play better with Jesus down the middle, but this season Martinelli hasn't been great FPL-wise. I think with Martinelli, good fixtures, poor underlying numbers, hasn't had any big chances this season, if I'm not mistaken. But if you can do Martinelli to Eze or Mbeumo, I think that's what I'd look to do. Burn to Baldock. Not a big fan of Baldock, to be honest. I mean, he's a 4 million defender, but I'd rather go for Lascelles so long as Botman is out. But yeah, not so sure about that. Thank you, Lipuk, for the super chat. Sending in my team now. 1 million in the bank and 2 free transfers. All right, I'll have a look. Thank you very much for that. Once you put it, I'll have a look. Should I bench Gabriel or Cash? I would bench Cash and start Gabriel, the FPL Diamond. Hey Dylan, I'm thinking of a differential captain. Any suggestions? Eze, Solanke will be decent shouts. I think Son is still quite a differential captain in the grand scheme of things, to be honest, and he's my favourite captain this week. Big up Dylan, I'm Trippier short of triple Newcastle at the back. I wouldn't go anywhere near triple Newcastle defensively. With all the injuries they have, I'd definitely stay clear. A double up is more than enough right now. Sell Alvarez or Watkins for Solanke. To be honest, with fixtures in mind, you would favour Alvarez and sell Watkins instead, but form is also very important, and Alvarez hasn't been great, even for Argentina. I don't think Alvarez has been particularly good in recent games, so difficult one, but I'd rather keep Watkins long-term, I think. As things stand, it's a really close call, and things can change so quickly. Should I transfer Martinelli to Mbeumo? I think I would keep Martinelli for 1 more week and then sell him to Mbeumo next week. I think that's what I'd do. Close call, though. Very close call. Came in late. Have you covered Bowen? Yeah, I mean, there's not really too much more to add from what David Moyes said yesterday. It's down to a late fitness test. He hopes he's available, and that's all we know. I personally think he'll start. I would go for Palmer there, Zen. Thoughts on Ward-Prowse captaincy? Nah, I wouldn't captain him. I know there's a lot of different, punts, especially for the captaincy this week. But Ward-Prowse, before his 11-pointer in Gameweek 12, he produced like 5 blanks in a row. And his deeper positioning is what pretty much pushed me to sell him. Sell Alvarez or Watkins, we've covered. Welcome, Sahara. Who to start? Sa? Was it Sa? Okay, Gavardio, Tsimikas, Semenyo, and who to bench? I would... You know what? From those 4... That's so close. I'd be inclined to start Tsimikas or Semenyo. Yeah, I don't know how many you need to bench, but I definitely, would be looking to bench Sarr and Gavardio out of the 4. Any thoughts on James Ward-Prowse as captain? Yeah, we just covered that. Play Maguire or Cash and play Palmer or Archer. I'd play Maguire and Palmer. Liverpool's team: Onana, Turner, Borro, Cher, Anderson, Cash, Kabore, Matoma, Son, Salah, Anderson, Mbumo, Haaland, Watkins, Mabama. And you said you had 2 free transfers and 1 million in the bank. Okay. So in your defensive line, Porro has some poor fixtures. Spurs are looking poor defensively, but Porro looks good offensively, so not a priority sell, so to speak. But yeah, I think you could do with a Saliba or an Arsenal defender in there. Yeah, Mitoma is definitely the big, priority. So if I were you, I would consider Mitoma to Eze. I think I'd do that. And I would also look at upgrading Anderson and having 5 midfielders, and then Anderson to Palmer long term is a great move. So yeah, I think I'd make 2 changes in your defense: Mitoma and Anderson to Palmer and Eze. And yeah, I think that is the way to go long term. In terms of your defense, whether you do it now or next week, I would also consider Saliba or Gabriel in. And if you've got the funds, you can do Kabore to one of them, or even sell Borro or Cher. So I think that's the way to go, Lipuk. Let me know what you think. Starting Boom or Eze. This week it'd be Eze. Hey Dylan, thoughts on Tomiyasu? He is fairly injury prone. Even just a few weeks ago, he had an injury doubt. And he's going to be rotating with Zinchenko. So if you want Arsenal defenders, go for Saliba, Gabriel, or Ben White. I think they're the 3 best. You've also got Raya in goal beyond Gameweek 13 when he's available. So yeah, I wouldn't go there. Neto to Adingra and bench Bowen. I wouldn't do that. I'd start Bowen. Fingun 3020 says, burn Kabore to Baldock -4. Nah, I don't think it's worth it. Yeah, I just don't think it's worth taking a -4 hit for Baldock. I just don't really think that's the case. The plan is to bring Haaland in Gameweek 15-16. Yeah, fair enough. You can't bring Tsimikas in, but yeah, if you want a defender, cheap defender, I'd look at maybe Mikalenko or something like that, but it's not worth a -4 hit in my opinion. Bowen showing 50%. Is he starting? Well, like I said, according to the latest updates that we covered, it's down to a late fitness test. So unless something's happened now, I just really don't know what else to say. There's not really any concrete updates that I've seen today. Just to give you the exact quote by David Moyes, this is what he said yesterday. We hope Jared will be available, but that will be a decision we make on Saturday. He is currently at 50%, but yeah, we have no concrete updates since yesterday. So we do have 75 likes. Let's be sure to get this stream to over 100. It doesn't cost anything and it really helps us out. And of course, I have covered hundreds of questions here today, as we typically do. Play Cash or Tsimikas, says Kai Havertz. I would play Cash. Start Isak or Alvarez, says Obina. I would go for Alvarez. I expect Paqueta to haul versus Burnley. Fair enough. I saw someone include him in their free hit team, but I did favour Bowen or Kudus instead. Will Tariq Lamptey start? He's got a good chance of Estupinian out. I'd say so. Start Gabriel or Trippier? Gabriel. Mikel says Cash, Gabriel, Lascelles, Gay. You had to choose 3 stars from the list. Who would they be? So basically bench 1. Probably Cash is the one I'd bench. If we refresh this page, by the way, yeah, I've still got Lascelles. I actually thought I made a late switch and brought in Cash, but yeah, I haven't done that yet. That could be one of the few moves I make. I've got 3 flag players. If we get any concrete news on Bowen somehow and he's ruled out, then I would consider Bowen to Eze. But ideally, I would keep Bowen for the long term. Thank you, Yash Raja. -4 Bowen to Saka. I like Saka a lot, but would I take a -4 hit to sell Bowen to Saka when you might want Bowen back next week or the week after? Not so sure. I personally wouldn't do it, but that's because I think he'll personally play. I might be wrong, but I'm not sure I'd do it. Radovan says, should I roll transfer this week? I've planned to transfer Diaby and Adingra out and Boom and Palmer in. Rest of the midfield is okay. Yeah, it definitely is. I think in your situation, I would make the moves. Specifically, Adingra to Palmer. I'm not so sure if Adingra is going to start the next couple of Premier League games. He's been starting a lot recently, but Yeah, overall, Diaby and Adingra, I think you've got the right plan there. Is Colwell a good replacement for Cash? He's decent. I don't think he's that great necessarily. He's not the most nailed on either, especially with Cucurella on the left-hand side. But yeah, I'd play Maguire this week. Depends who you play him over, but he's not too bad. Paul says, hey Dylan, should I bench Hooper or just sell for Mbeumo? Hooper, I don't know who that is, to be honest, but yeah, with Mbeumo, I think he's a great long-term purchase. I think the best time to buy him, though, is Gameweek 14. Should I sell Bowen for Palmer? No, I wouldn't. Start one of Cash, Gabriel, or Porro? I would go for Gabriel. Rakinjo says, Bernardo Silva, Kudus, Eze, Trossard, and Mbeumo, pick one. Mbeumo is my favourite overall. Eze is the one for the next three. Longer term, Mbeumo is the best pick. I have two changes, Douglas Luiz to Palmer, and who is the best? 5 million defender, or should I roll one free transfer? Yeah, I think Douglas Luiz to Palmer is a great long-term move. Yeah, I think that's fine. Best 5 million defender. Well, you're probably looking at Gabriel, Tsimikas, but you wouldn't buy him this week, and Mikalenko would be right up there. Check out the best wildcard team video for more detailed analysis on every single, of the best options in each position. Start two of Lascelles, Doggy Cash, says SOCLH. I would go for Lascelles and Cash. The best captain, for your opinion? Son. Would you sell Son and strengthen the rest of your squad for December? No. I wouldn't sell Son this week. Maybe in Gameweek 14, but right now I'd keep Son and probably captain him. Mitoma to Bowen and Borro to Zinchenko. I wouldn't go to Zinchenko, Lipuk, like I mentioned earlier, because with Zinchenko, the issue is he's going to be rotating with Tomiyasu. Zinchenko's also fairly injury-prone. And I think against, the best attacks in the league, I could see Tomiyasu starting instead of Zinchenko. And of course, the thing I like about Zinchenko is that in the easier games, against low blocks specifically, he's probably going to start most games when available. But I just think there are better Arsenal defenders like Saliba and Gabriel. Do I keep Cash or transfer in Saliba? I'd transfer in Saliba if you can. Palmer or Solanke? I'd start Solanke this week, but who do I prefer overall as an FPL asset? It'd be Palmer. Mert the Tractor says Palmer, Solanke, and Saliba for Son, Archer, and Branthwaite for a -4. The thing is, look, I think overall, great moves. You're improving your team, but I'm not sure if I'd sell Son for a -4 this week. That's my main issue. And even Archer's a good option this week, to be honest. So I would make those moves long term, but this week, I think I'd just keep Son for now. Keep him for this week. Do Son to Palmer next week. I think that's the play. Palmer or Solanke, just covered. Mbeumo or Kudus. This week, Kudus. Overall, it'd be Mbeumo. Is Bowen playing? I think he'll start. Don't hold me to that. It's just an opinion. Dylan, are we going in a trap? Never back the early kickoff for captain. To be honest, though, remember a few weeks ago, there was an early kickoff. I think it was Salah who went ballistic in an early kickoff, and he got 16 points. I think it was against Everton a month ago now, I think it was. So, yeah, there's also Watkins against Brighton in an early kickoff, getting 23 points, although he wasn't really captained by many people, but still. Areola or Alisson? I'd definitely Areola this week. I wouldn't start Alisson. Joao Pedro for Solanke, a good transfer? Yeah, I think so. Best midfielder under 6 million? Yeah, I think Gordon, Palmer are the two best. Yeah, I think that's where I'd look to. One of those two. Would you start Ferguson this week over Mbeumo or Palmer? I'm not so sure, to be honest. I'd have to think about that, but I don't think so. Yeah, it just really depends if he starts, and you never really get that guarantee with him, unfortunately. Yeah, we've covered that Areola question. Start Porro or Trippier? I'd go for Trippier. Ramones says, quiero cambiar uno de mis defensores porque tengo dos transferencias. Tengo Gabriel, Porro, Cash, Lascelles y Taylor. Y es difícil, pero... Cash. Y en esta semana yo pondría a Gabriel, Pedro Porro y Lascelles, y eso está bien. A largo plazo, sí, buscaría un reemplazante para Lascelles o Taylor. ¿Sabes qué? Me gusta mucho un defensor como Joachim Andersen, Mitchell o Gay de Crystal Palace. Así que si puedes hacer Lascelles o Taylor para uno de ellos, así que sí, es lo que haría yo. Si tiene el dinero para hacer eso. Pero si no, Cash Anderson está muy bien. Play Huang or Archer, says Ian. I'd play Huang. What do you think of Paqueta? A few people are showing love to him in the chat, but I'd rather go for Kudus or Ward-Prowse in the West Ham midfield. And of course, Bowen is number one when he's available. Also about Trossard. With Jesus back, I don't think he's that nailed on. So yeah, I'm not so sure about Trossard. He's a really good punt in certain weeks when he does start, but I don't think he's the safest option in terms of minutes. Who'll be the best captain this week? I think Son. Turner or Allison? Well, Turner doesn't even play, so Allison's the one. Who to buy for Burn? I have Trippier, Anderson, Lascelles, Tsimikas, and Witchfree to start. Well, ideally it'd be Gabriel or Saliba. I think Saliba, if you've got the funds, is the perfect one there, Mosin. And in terms of who to start from what you have, it would be Trippier, Anderson, and Lascelles, and bench Tsimikas. Thoughts on triple attack for the long term? Man City, Foden, Alvarez, and Haaland, or Arsenal, Odegaard, Saka, and Jesus? Considering fixtures and also the level of FPL assets, I would go for Foden, Alvarez, and Haaland. But my overall, recommendation is to have a mixture of both. And what I'd look to do is have Haaland, Alvarez, and Saka. I think that's the best of both worlds. Start Archer or Cash? I'd start Archer. I was kind of in two minds about that. I don't know why. Yeah, I'd go for Archer. Do I take Alvarez out of my front three for a -4 to Mbeumo and hope Bowen starts, or wait until next week? I'd just start Alvarez anyway this week. He's been in poor form, but I really back him to do well if he starts, to be honest. And I also think Bowen will start too. Thank you, Penguin. Hello from Colombia. Thank you very much. Colombia have been doing very well in the qualifiers recently. If Doku is benched, would you play Archer instead, fella? Yeah, I think so. I think Archer's perfectly fine this week. Keep Trossard this week or sell next week. Yeah, I think if you got him, you probably hold, but I'd be very, anxious about the likes of Nketiah and especially Jesus coming back. Pulling the trigger on Bodro to Saliba and Matoma to Eze for the fixtures. Yeah, I think that's completely fine. I think that's what I'd do. We talked about your team earlier. I think Matoma to Eze makes perfect sense. Gordon from Mbeumo, says Barry. I think I'd keep Gordon for this week and then do that move next week. I'm also in two minds about it. I'd love to have Mbeumo now, but it's also Arsenal at home. It's not the easiest of fixtures. I think my kind of big temptation is Eze. So what I'm going to do now is do a quick poll, as we love to do on this channel. I showed plenty of polls already. And be sure to smash the like button, subscribe for new, all of that good stuff. What I'm going to do now is a poll, and it's going to be regarding my team. And then afterwards, you can do some for your own team situations as well. So let's see if I can do a poll now. So these are my final transfer plans. And of course, you can see the full context of my team as well. Elise Pun, I'd rather go for Eze, to be honest there, Aid. I'd rather go for him. So if we can get this up. Yeah, I'm going to put a quick poll out now. And then later on, we can put some more, which could be the captaincy, which has been a very popular topic. Defenders to start has also been another one. So, for some reason, I can't do that. Okay, that's a bit of a shame. So, Diaby, Gordon. See if I can do that. I think I'm going to stick with Eze for now. So, yeah, we're going to do this. Diaby to Eze. Then we're going to do Gordon to Eze. Bowen to Eze is the other one. And then the fourth option will be roll the transfer. All right, so yeah, it's going to be a quick poll, and this will basically be my final transfer plans. And it does involve Eze as a free game week punt. I would buy Mbeumo regardless in game week 14. But yeah, these are my options. It's basically who do I sell for Eze, and if not, I roll the transfer. If I make a late move, it will be one of those transfers that I've put in the poll. Gordon from Mbeumo, yeah, we covered, so my bad for that. Play Archer or Palmer? That's also been a very popular question. I'd go for Palmer. And by the way, Gordon to Eze is winning at the moment. Then it's gone to Diaby. Wow, that's changed very quickly. I'll give that a bit of time to settle. Play Trent or Saliba? Saliba. Bench 1, Bowen, Salah, Saka, Gordon, Son, Watkins, Alvarez, Darwin. Despite his form, I'd bench Darwin. Zinchenko for the long term, not for me. He rotates with Tomiyasu. At the moment, Tomiyasu is first choice. Zinchenko is deployed against the weaker teams, the ones with low blocks, but I just don't think his minutes are that nailed on long term. He's going to get benched. He's an injury-prone player, so I just wouldn't go there. I'd rather go for Saliba. The Samuel Beer says bench one. Oh yeah, I covered that, my bad. Akraf says my team is, and then says nothing. Play Cash or Mikalenko, says Dergish. I'd play Mikalenko. Gordon to Eze says Ken. Fair enough, thank you for that, I appreciate it. In terms of if you're asking me if you should do it, I still like Gordon this week, to be honest. I really do. Selma Toma for Palmer or Roll. I have Gordon, says Awang. No, I think I'd do it. You know, you can make that transfer early. I think Palmer is about to go up in price and Matuma's going to go down. So yeah, I would do it. Even if you're going to bench Palmer, you've got him in, ready for that fixture run very soon. Mitchell says, hi Dylan, would you transfer in Darwin, Alvarez or Solanke? Transfer in. So long term, I do like Darwin Nunez, but not for this week. So it's kind of a difficult one. Solanke looks great for this week. Beyond that, I still prefer Alvarez and Darwin. Yeah, I think my preference would be Darwin, but just kind of an awkward timing to buy him this week. Will Bowen start? I think so, and the keyword there is think. Best captain, Haaland, Salah or Son? Definitely Son for me. Cash and Burnout for a -4, or only transfer Burnout, but Cash, start Cash and Simicast, says Presner. Yeah, I'd only transfer Burnout and I'd start Cash. Hi Dylan, would you transfer in Darwin, Alvarez or Solanke? We covered. Play Trent or Saliba. RZ says, Gay, Sufal, Saliba and Lascelles. Any tips to improve? 0.8 million in the bank. Well, your team is in good shape. That defensive line is good. I don't really think you need to make a transfer, to be honest. You could just start Gay, Sufal and Saliba, and you're absolutely fine for now. Captain Haaland or Son? Son. Yep, we've answered that question about the benchings as well. Is Trippier a priority or... I just lost the question. Or can Reece James cover him in the coming weeks? Trippier's not a priority. With all the injuries Newcastle have, Trippier also could occasionally play on the left-hand side to accommodate Livramento. So I don't think it's a priority. Yeah, Reece James can cover him so long as he stays fit, and that's the big issue. How long will that be the case? Adnan puts his team. I'm thinking of Mitoma to Eze and Foster to Wood. Yeah, look, Wood could be a good short-term punt. The thing is, though, I think Mitoma to Eze is the plan, and then I'd roll the second transfer. So with your team, start Areola. Also your defense, yeah, Cash, Gabriel, Mitchell, that's absolutely fine. You could go for Lascelles instead, but that's up to you. Your midfield's also good. Mitoma's the only big issue there. So yeah, I think Mitoma to Eze is what I'd do, and I'd probably roll the second transfer. Because who would you even start Wood over? Maybe Gordon, but I actually like Gordon this week. Kumar says, I need to bench 2. Cash, Udogie, Saliba, Share, Simicast. I'd bench Simicast and Udogie. Also, Chris Wood. Decent short-term punt, but it's not really someone I'd actively go out and buy. In terms of forwards, it'd be Watkins, Darwin and Alvarez as my 3 favourites. Even Solanke would be a preference over Chris Wood. Play Colwell or Lascelles this week? Lascelles. Is Cash fit to play? I believe so. He's been training. Is Udogie ready to start? Yeah, I also believe so. The thing is with Udogie, I haven't seen a recent update about him, but he was suspended, and then during the international break, he picked up an injury, and he didn't play for Italy. So the official word, the latest that we've gotten about him, if I can just get it up here, about Destiny Udogie. Yeah, so... yeah, yesterday the update was Destiny is fine, he is available, he's had a good couple of weeks. So, yeah, it looks like he's all good and ready to go, and he'll start tomorrow. Play Cole or Lascelles this week. I covered. Which defender of Cash or Gabriel should I bench? I would bench Cash there. Dylan, is Mbuma going up again in price after the deadline? I believe so. I covered the price changes earlier in the stream. If we have a quick look now, let's refresh it as well, get the latest data. So yeah, at the moment, Mbuma isn't set to go up, but that could change. So yeah, according to this site, which tends to be very reliable, FPL Statistics.co.uk, he won't go up in price today, But before the next deadline, yeah, I would assume he will. There's going to be a lot of transfer activity from Boomer, especially when they see that Luton Town fixture in Gameweek 14. So yes, now I'll go back to my team. And back to your questions. Fernandes and Branthwaite for Palmer and Saliba. Yeah, I think long-term those are good moves. Play Cash or Taylor? I'd go for Cash. Yeah, with Darwin starting, I'm not really too surprised, but either way, I'm not really backing him to do well. I just think City will win comprehensively, and I think Salah is Liverpool's biggest threat, but apparently Darwin does start. Who to captain out of Son, Salah, Fernandes, Darwin, Edouard? Son. What's the story with Ferguson? Last few weeks, signed new contract, they're not playing a lot. Why? I don't know. I mean, De Zerbi's been a bit odd with rotation, but yeah, I think Ferguson's also had some injury problems this season. I have all three, Cash, Doggy, and Bodero. Must start two. Who to bench? From those three, it'd be a Doggy. Who would you start, Cash or Tsimikas? Cash. You can also see it from my bench order. I've got Tsimikas last on my bench and Cash second. Diaby to Mbeumo, Eze, Palmer. Mbeumo is my favourite long-term, so he's the easy answer. For the next three, targeting fixtures and going for a short-term punt, I like Eze a lot. Between Zinchenko, Mikalenko, Anderson, Saliba, what would be the best back three? It would be Saliba, Anderson, and Mikalenko. Thoughts on captaining Saka? Yeah, look, he has been a bit overlooked this week, I do admit that, but I personally think Arsenal will score 1 or 2 goals against Brentford. I don't think their ceiling is particularly high. Saka's been extremely consistent, but I don't think his ceiling will be, you know, let's say on the same level as Son or Haaland this week. Prince Izzy says Cash to Saliba. Yeah, I would do it. I have Trippier, Gabriel, Kabore, and Tsimikas, 0 transfers, 1.1 million in the bank. Yeah, if you've got 0 transfers, I wouldn't do it for a -4 here. Let me put it that way. Just start Gabriel, keep Cash for now, and you could even start him against Bournemouth. Captain Eze or Haaland, I'd go for Haaland. White for Saliba. Yeah, I wouldn't do it for a hit, but if you can do it for free, I think that's a good shout, and you save a bit of money. Play Johnston or Areola. I'd play Johnston. -4 Eze or Palmer. Eze has a free Gameweek punt, and then you can switch to Palmer in Gameweek 16. Yeah, thank you, Abhishek. We have reached 100, and if we can keep on going to 150 plus, that'd be greatly appreciated before the end of the stream. We do have around 37 minutes left until the deadline. Cash to Gabriel -4 or roll? Roll. Start Taylor, Tsimikas, or Livramento. I'd actually go for Tsimikas there. Not so sure if Livramento starts. I don't back Taylor at all. And as for Tsimikas, you could get an attack and return. Who to captain between Son, Salah, Haaland, and Eze? Son. Any question regarding Son, he's going to be the answer, to be quite honest with you. I really back him this week. Starting in Mbeumo or Archer or Lascelles? In Mbeumo. Adingra or Palmer? I think this week it'd be Adingra. Long term, though, who's the best option? It's Palmer. And I would look at such a move. Gay or Anderson? Anderson if you can afford it. Start Palmer or Mbeumo? Mbeumo. Ben White, he's just come back from injury. He's been training, but he is still a doubt. So they're going to assess him and see what happens. Start Alvarez or Darwin? I personally prefer Alvarez this week, Raj. Lipik says, when in doubt, Captain Haaland. I have Salah and Son as well to cover. Yeah, I'd say so. But look, Salah this season has been even better than Haaland so far. To be honest, Lipik, if I were you, I'd captain Son. I really back him, but to be honest, whoever you go for from those three, you've got a good chance of a return. Salah has a great record against Man City. You know, that's returns in his last 4 games against them, including the Community Shield final a few years ago. Haaland, of course, at the Etihad is a different animal. Although this season he's had more big chances away from home than at the Etihad. And as for Son, against the High Line and Aston Villa, he could really feast. So, yeah. Captain Watkins, not a bad shout. I think from that Villa Spurs game, it'd be Son, then Watkins for the best captain options. Cash, Tsimikas, Gabriel start 2, says Kevin. Gabriel and Cash. Ken back says Cash and Chan out for Saliba and Palmer -4 with price rises in mind. No. I'd only do Cash to Saliba for free. Don't do Hwang Hee-Chan to Palmer for a -4. Buy Palmer eventually, but not this week for a hit. I don't think it's worth it. Start Areola plus Mitchell or Johnson and Archer? That's a good question. I think I'd go for Johnson and Archer. Would I? That's such a difficult question, actually. Archer has been pretty good in certain home games. with some big returns. 9-pointer the other week, 12-pointer against Everton, I think, in his home debut. I think I'd still go for Ariella Mitchell, but I'm in two minds about that. Really difficult one. Let me know what you're leaning towards, but yeah, that's a really tricky one. Thank you for the super chat there, King Eagle. Very much appreciated. You put your team Areola, Gay, Udogi, Trippier, Bowen, Diaby, Salah, Vice, Palmer, Song captain. I like that. Haaland, Darwin, bench, Onana, Archer, Cash, Gusto. Hoping for 110 points. I mean, I wouldn't mind if you do, to be fair. That's a really good team. I would consider Cash over Udogi. I personally just would go for the one with more attacking potential, and Cash is still first amongst defenders for shots, XG, etc. But in terms of the rest of your starting 11, I think it's completely fine. You could also consider Archer to start, but to be honest, I think with what you have, I think that's the way to go. Yeah, if you've got like 2 free transfers, I'm guessing you don't. You probably only have one, or you've used them up already. I would also consider a 1-game week or 3-game week punt like Diaby to Eze, but yeah, I think that team looks exceptional. I prefer Haaland over Salah for the captaincy, but either way, Son is your main captain. Yeah, I think that's a really good shout, really good team, and good luck, all the best there. Let me know how you do in the reaction stream tomorrow as well. Why not start Cash? Just because I think, looking at it, I think Newcastle have a better chance of a clean sheet, and maybe because the last time I benched Lascelles in a home game against the good opposition, so to speak, he did get a 9-pointer, and it was against Arsenal, of all teams. So, yeah, I don't know. I just have a good feeling about Newcastle. I think they'll get a result against Chelsea, and if they concede, I only see them conceding 1 max, to be honest. By the way, the poll is absolutely crazy. It's so tight. You've literally got Diaby to Eze or roll the transfer neck and neck, and it keeps on changing. So, yeah, maybe it does show that I shouldn't make a transfer. Radovan says, should I roll the transfer this week? I have plans to transfer Diaby and Adingra out and Mbeumo and Palmer in. Yeah, I'd roll the transfer, Radovan, as we covered earlier. And I'd make the transfers eventually of Mbeumo and Palmer in, but I'd do it next week in Gameweek 14. Start Diaby or Watkins, says Callum. Watkins. Simeon says, I've got 2 free transfers, did 1 cash for Saliba. Should I wait with Bowen and roll the transfer? Yeah, I'd roll the transfer. And look, if you get any news in the next half an hour or so, then of course you could use that second free transfer. But yeah, I think for now, just roll. Do you think Bowen will start? Yeah. Are you benching Cash because of injury or fixture? Because of fixture, and I also back Lascelles a little bit more for the clean sheet. You know what? I might go for my predictions very soon so you can get an insight into why I'm doing certain things. Are you benching... Oh, yeah, sorry. Just read that. Was on Johnston Mitchell double up. Could still do that? Yeah. I mean, you definitely could still do that, to be quite honest with you. Someone was asking about their free hit team, and I did mention going for that double up. So, yeah. Is Colwell a good option for the future? Decent, I think, but not the most nailed on with rotation on the left-hand side with Cucurella. I also don't really like Colwell in general in terms of bonus points and his ceiling with goals and assists. Of course, the ideal one would be Reece James, if he can stay fit, which is a big if. Archer or James Ward-Prowse? I'd start James Ward-Prowse. Welcome, Jay. Adingra or Mbeumo? Mbeumo. First on the bench, Darwin or Cash? I would go for Darwin. I'd still go for Darwin there. Sahil says, do I transfer Almiron to Mbeumo for a -4? Start Archer. Start Archer. And then buy Mbeumo next week. Eze or Palmer, says Mogul. Eze. And then get Palmer in around Game Week 16. Darwin or Alvarez? This week, Alvarez. Play Gordon or Alvarez this week? Probably Gordon. Got a good feeling about him. Start Archer or Alvarez? I'd go for Alvarez. Start Onana or Areola? I would go for Areola. Start Gabriel or Cash? Already have Saliba starting. I'd still go for Gabriel. That's a nice differential this week to have, and if it pays off, it's massive. Start 3 out of Mbeumo, Szoboszlai, Cash, Lascelles, or Doggy. Mbeumo, Lascelles, and Cash, Abhishek. Cash, Saliba, and Gordon to Eze, says Awali. Yeah, I mean, I think Eze's ceiling is certainly higher than Gordon over the next 3. Longer term, I do prefer Gordon over Eze, but yeah, Cash to Saliba is definitely a great move. I'd definitely do that. Gordon to Eze, I'm a bit unsure about though. Start Archer or Alvarez, we covered. Start Cash or Archer. I'd go for Archer. Sahil says, man, I messed up. I transferred in Maddison out for Bowen before the international break. Yeah, I think in my videos around that time, just when the international break started, I try to encourage people, the reaction stream as well, to not make early transfers. And of course, you never know what could happen. You also need some luck. But yeah, when you have an international break or even Champions League games midweek and stuff, you know, it's always going to be a big risk. Bowen didn't even play and he still got an injury, which is very unlucky. Captain Saka, Bowen or Watkins. From those three, probably Saka. Yeah, I think from those three, Saka. My original answer, assuming, you know, before Bowen's injury, it would have been him. But yeah, I think Saka right now. Play Archer or Hwang Hee-chan. Hwang Hee-chan. Start Pickford or Onana. Difficult one, really difficult one, because it's a head-to-head game. Everton have the home crowds. They just got that points deduction. They're going to be right up for it, I think. And Man United have just had so many injury problems. Mason Mount has another injury now. You know what? I think... I was going to say Pickford. I'm going to stick with that, I guess, yeah. Top 5 captains this week. Son, Haaland, Salah, Saka, Bowen, dare I say, would be my top 5. Haaland and Salah, who should I captain? I personally would favour Haaland. You can see it in my team as well. What about Bernardo? Not a big fan of him FPL-wise, to be honest. Ferguson to start? Yeah, I guess so, but it's just so difficult to predict with Ferguson because he hasn't had a consistent run of starts this season. Who is better long-term, Palmer or Gordon? Tricky one. I think I'd just about go for Palmer, but let's not forget, his returns have been hugely inflated by penalties. Trippier to Saliba? I'm not against that, to be honest. I think Saliba's a better option until Christmas. Gameweek 14, 15 and 16 are in the space of 8 days, says the man, the myth, the legend. Any defenders, midfielders or forwards you recommend that will last the full 90 minutes in each match? Bowen, if he's fit. Mbumo will be another one. Saka. You've got plenty of options there in the midfield, in the forward line. Haaland, of course, is a no-brainer. Ollie Watkins. I'd also go for Solanke, you know, for that kind of 90-minute criteria. Is Bowen injured? He's a doubt. It's going to be down to a late fitness test. David Moyes says he hopes he's available, so there is a chance. I personally think he will start, but let's wait and see. Should I captain Solanke? I'm not against it. I'm not completely against it. I just don't have as much confidence in a Solanke as I do in a Haaland, a Son, a Saka, etc. And I also think Sheffield United could be a bit tougher for Bournemouth than we all expect. But look, it's not a bad shout. Keeping Areola and Raya or downgrade one. Just keep both of them and start Areola this week and then bring Raya back in. What if Tsimikas goes crazy again? I would have no regrets because he's playing Man City away. And even last week, if you put context into it, you know, he just made a huge mistake in the Europa League game against Toulouse, which led to a goal being conceded. Toulouse ended up winning the match. And Tsimikas was actually a big doubt to start the game against Brentford. So look, if he goes off again, he goes off again. But I personally just don't see him doing that well against Man City. And also, if you look at his returns, they've all come at Anfield. Cash plus Diaby to Saliba plus Eze. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good, to be honest. I'd do it. Start Cash or Bodro. That is tricky because both of them have a lot of attacking potential. I think Cash still has better underlying numbers and, you know, more chances of scoring, but there's also the injury doubt to factor in. I'd personally favour Pedro Porro from these two, but if it was a doggy, I'd favour Cash over him. But I think the margins between those three are very minimal. Mitoma to Gordon or James or Prowse? Gordon. Which two should I start? Gordon, Archer or Palmer? Gordon and Palmer, sorry. I think that's what I'd go for and back both teams to score, basically. Which two should I start? I just said that. Lamptey to start, Tsimikas or Lamptey? I'd go for Lamptey. Rank these West Ham players other than Bowen. Yeah, it'd probably be James Ward-Prowse first, Kudus second, Paqueta third. I think James Ward-Prowse will be more consistent than Kudus. Kudus' ceiling will be higher. He's a more exciting player as well, FPL-wise, just because of his positioning. But yeah, I think James Ward-Prowse will be number one, then it's Kudus, then Paqueta. Reconnecting says, hi Dylan, I got Gabriel, Taylor, Tsimikas and Cash. Who do you reckon are the favourites to start? Gabriel, Cash, and probably Tsimikas there. Lascelles or Maguire, says Bogle. I'd go for Lascelles. Just about. Mbuma for Eze this week for a -4. No. Definitely not worth it. That's what I mean about Eze. If I buy him in, it would be for 3 weeks. Not beyond that. Like I says, Pavli, unfortunately, for some reason, my the highlighting messages isn't working. I think I did a system update with my laptop and it's just caused some issues everywhere, basically. And that's probably the main reason why. I can't think of anything else I've done that would have caused this not to work. So hopefully I can fix it for the next stream, but I can't guarantee anything. I don't know exactly why it's happened. Mr. Blanky says, matey, is it worth taking a -4 to vacate Matoma or just play a back four of James, Gay, Simicast, Colwell? Well, there are certain midfielders like Eze and Mbuma where the -4 hit does suffice, but the back four also is pretty decent. I'd personally take the -4 and go to Mbuma or Eze. Best burn replacement, it'd be Saliba. Cylindra says best cash replacement for less than 4.9 million. I'd consider Mikalenko, and I'd also maybe consider Mitchell or Gay. Nketiah to Wood or Estupinian to Aina. I'd actually favour Nketiah to Wood there from those two. Start Archer, Almiron or Bowen. Start Bowen. We've covered the West Ham rankings there. Eze or Palmer. Eze. And then you can make that switch in Gameweek 16. Yep, Lamptey can definitely start today. Henrik says Son and Matoma to Saka and Mbuma for a -4. No. I would just do Matoma to Mbuma for free, if you can afford that. Do Son to Saka next week for free. Don't do it now for a hit. Best burn replacement for 4.9 million. We've just covered. Yeah, I'd be looking at probably Mikalenko in your situation. Bench Joao Pedro or Nketiah? Probably bench Nketiah. Any leaks? I just tune in now. Apparently Darwin starts. That's pretty much all we've got. Transfer cash por Saliba, Anderson o alguien más. Ya tengo a Gabriel Porro y Lascelles. En tu situación iría por Anderson y después en el futuro puedes hacer Gabriel a Saliba. Best free defenders for this game week draft. For draft, I mean, I don't know exactly how draft works, to be honest, but my favorite defenders this week will be Saliba, Anderson, and probably Trippier. Adil says start 2 from Zinchenko, Trent, Archer, Mbeumo. I'd start Mbeumo and Archer. Matt's Collectible says start 3, Diaby, Trippier, Gabriel, and Mbeumo. So bench 1, basically. I would bench... That's a tough one. I think I'd bench Trippier from those 4. Dare I say? Gordon or Palmer, says Redder. Gordon this week. Start Gordon over Diaby? I think so. Just about. Sell Gordon, I'd keep if possible. If I can't afford Saliba, Gabriel's also a good option, yes. But Saliba's better for bonus points, attacking potential this season, and he's also more nailed on. Wan-Bissaka, yeah, I mean, he's had a lot of injury problems this season. He's come back, he's looked pretty decent in recent games, but yeah, I'm just not a huge fan of United assets, to be honest. Eze and Wood or Kudus and Edouard? Eze and Wood. Watkins captain, he's in my top 10, but yeah, I'm not so sure if I'd captain him this week. I think there are better options. Free to start, Cash, Potter, Trippier, Gabriel, Soufal. I'd go for Gabriel, Trippier, and Soufal. I did Bowen to Mbeumo. Good luck with that. Let's see how it all goes. Bowen places Racely. Let's wait and see. I'm not so sure. You know, he is currently at 50% chance of starting. I personally think he will, but yeah, it's kind of looking a bit mad, to be honest. Start Taylor or Simicast? Simicast. Hey Dylan, I wanted to know, what does roller transfer mean? It means making no transfers and then having 2 in the following week. Cash, Palmer or Udogie? Bench 1. I would bench Udogie. Hi Dylan, I hope you're well. Start Foden or Alvarez? Well, Foden has a great record against Liverpool. That's worth mentioning and taking into account. Alvarez is more likely to be benched because of his international duties, travelling all the way to Argentina and Brazil. I'd personally start Foden from those 2, but as I mentioned many times in the stream, I've also got a good feeling about Alvarez this week. Mikalenko or Gabriel, says Dor. Gabriel this week. Start Gabriel or Mbeumo? Difficult one, to be fair. I tend to favour the attackers, but yeah, I think I'm just going to go for Mbeumo there. much higher ceiling. You'd probably regret benching Mbuma more than you would with Gabriel. You know, with Gabriel, maybe 6 to 8 points is the ceiling. Yeah, so probably start Mbuma. Sahil says bench order Tsimikas, Almiron, Lamptey. Yeah, that's completely fine. I'd probably move Lamptey a little bit further up. Captain who and why? Son, high line. You know, he tends to do really well against teams that have a high line like Aston Villa. Aston Villa have been very poor on their travels. And I also look at the other games, and apart from Haaland and Salah in that big clash in a few hours' time, I think a lot of other games could be quite low scoring. Start a doggy or Tsimikas. Probably a doggy there. Stuck on Pinnacle Cash. I'd go for Cash. Vale, gracias. ¿Apoyas algún equipo en la liga? En la liga no. Hay algunos equipos que me gustan un poquito, como Valencia, pero no creo. Start Lascelles or Semenyo? Lascelles. Are West Ham or Man United more likely to keep a clean sheet? From those two, it'd be West Ham. Roll the transfer and get Trippier or Cash and Eze for Bowen and Mbuma next game week, or transfer out Cash now? Yeah, the thing is, though, I mean, you wouldn't buy Eze for Mbuma next game week, would you? You just wouldn't. When Mbuma faces Luton, great long-term fixtures, potential double in game week 20, and Bowen could also be available by then. So, to be honest, I'd do something like Cash to Saliba directly, and that's it, if you don't have him already. Start Alvarez or Mbuma? I'd go for Alvarez this week. Who to start? Cash, Lascelles, Lamptey. Lamptey, who on the first bench? From those three, I'd go for Lascelles to start, and first on the bench, probably Cash. Yeah, thank you, Hill, but that's pretty much what I'm doing. Alguapo says 2 out of 3 start, Mbuma, Alvarez, and Martinelli. That's so tough. I'll be honest, that's really tough. I'd go for Mbuma and probably Alvarez. Burn to Lascelles at this point? Yes, but just bear in mind that Botman could be back fairly soon. We don't know when that'll be. No worries, Alejandro. Let me know if you've got anything else. Adil says, thanks, start Trent or Zinchenko. Saliba in the team already. I'd still go for Zinchenko. But my big concern is, will Zinchenko start? I mean, who knows? Bench one of Gordon, Darwin, Diaby, and Alvarez. I would bench Darwin. Dan Kid 1 says, which of the 3 should I start? I'd go for Saliba, Lascelles, and Gay and just bench Gabriel. Ariolo or Leno says Hermoso. I'd go for Leno. Fried Air says cash out for a -4 if yes to Saliba or a Newcastle defender. Already have Gabriel and Anderson. I wouldn't take him out for a -4. Will Bowen start? I think so. Keyword is think. Who would you start out of Trent, Dunk, and Taylor? Probably Dunk, to be honest. Start Alvarez or Mbuma. Mbuma. Actually, no, I'm going to go for Alvarez, based on my prediction. No Bowen news there, to be honest. Just what we covered from yesterday about David Moyes saying he hopes he's available. Sell Diaby, says Ruben. I mean, I'm looking to sell him eventually, whether now or next week. So yeah, Diaby to Eze is still looking really good, to be honest. 2 out of 3 start. Yeah, we covered. Thoughts Diaby to Eze for a 1-week punt. I'd rather have Eze for 3 weeks, so I would do that move, but then sell Eze after the next 3 and then go to Palmer. Play Archer and Mbuma. I'd go for Mbuma. So that answers Amir and Adil's questions. Premier League moment that put a tear in your eye? That's a great question. I'm not sure about a tear in my eye, but that's made me emotional. Oof. Not sure about emotional like that, unfortunately. I mean, Welbeck scoring against Leicester, you know, and then Arsenal were closing the gap on Leicester in that title race. You know, that was a great moment. I'm not sure if that would bring a tear to my eye. Last season, there was plenty, you know, plenty of last-minute goals, thrillers and stuff like that. Yeah, in terms of the Premier League, though, yeah, not really. It's kind of been a bit peak for Arsenal for the last 20 years. Yeah. Yeah, be honest, there's not too many. Start Palmer or Archer. I'm playing Share. Yeah, I can see why I'd be inclined to start Archer there. In that case, I'd maybe go for Archer. Watkins, Son to Haaland, Palmer for a -4 hit. I see why you're doing it, but not for me. I wouldn't do it. Start Tsimikas or Zinchenko. Zinchenko. Is Wood a good captain option for this week? I wouldn't captain him. Let me just put it that way. Thanks, Dylan. I already got Gabriel. Do I double up with Saliba or wait and get Trippier next week and go for cash? the thing is with Trippier, there's so many injuries for Newcastle, and I just don't think his ceiling is as high at the moment. So it's a bit of an awkward time to buy him. But yeah, I think... yeah, I'd buy Trippier. I think he's an upgrade on cash, and yeah, I think in a time when most people are selling Trippier or avoiding him, buying him could be pretty decent, even in these big games against Chelsea and Man United. Who do I start, a Doggy or Tsimikas? I'd go for a Doggy. Start Archer or Alvarez? I'd go for Alvarez. Ramones says, tengo Son y estaba pensando que él sea mi capitán. Yo también, yo creo que es el mejor capitán de la jornada 13. Sahil says, hey Dylan, this is my final team. Any thoughts? Yeah, your starting 11 is absolutely fine if Bowen doesn't play. Yeah, I think I'd maybe reorder your bench a little bit. I think I mentioned this earlier. Maybe put Lamptey ahead of Almiron, but yeah, I think your team is ordered pretty well. Can't choose captain between Salah and Son. Yeah, I think Salah could score, but I just don't think his ceiling is as high as Son this week. Bring in Maguire and Eze this week from -4. Depends who you sell. That's the big question. Not a big fan of Maguire, but Eze is pretty good for the next 3. What to do with Trent? Sell or keep, says Tyler. Tricky one. I mean, Liverpool do have the least goals conceded. At home, you know, it's very difficult to score at Anfield, but in away games, you know, they just haven't really offered enough value. Sell or keep? I'd be more inclined to sell at the moment, but the thing is, after Man City, you've got some great fixtures which you want to take advantage of, so really difficult one with Trent. Really difficult one. I'd rather have Tsimikas, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, back when the Robertson injury happened. So if you can do Trent to Tsimikas, I think that could be great, and those extra funds could go a long way to upgrading other areas of your team. Start Palmer or Archer. I prefer Palmer. Diaby to Palmer. Not this week. I'd probably just keep Diaby. The Chris Wood question we've covered. If you see any updates, by the way, on Twitter or anywhere from a reliable source, then be sure to let me know. Captain Son or Saka? Son. Best goalkeeper for Turner? Well, Johnston and Raya are my favourites. Don't buy Raya this week, of course, because he's ineligible to play. That is confirmed by Arteta. Ramsdale will start this week. Start Bodder or Diaby? I'd go for Diaby. I have Edison in my team. Is he going to be fit to play? I believe so. I think all of these Man City injuries, apart from maybe Nunez, were pretty much just to avoid the international break. Bench 2 out of Trent, Trippier, Soufal, Kudus and Saliba. I'd bench Trent and probably Soufal, dare I say. Play Cash or Lascelles, says Jack Parslow. I'm going for Lascelles right now. Start Tsimikas or Bayer. I'd go for Tsimikas. Is Haaland guaranteed to play 90 minutes? Not absolutely guaranteed, but I think he will. He will definitely play 70, 80 minutes for me. I'm very convinced he will. And that's more than enough, to be honest. Yeah, Darwin starting, yeah. Yeah, no surprises there. Any leak news of City squad? No, for the City squad, not necessarily. According to Tustipaki, apparently Haaland's going to start, which isn't really a big surprise. We've been talking about that for a while now. So yeah, I'm going to see. Yeah. Just checking on Twitter right now, seeing if there's anything. I mean, what I really want to know about is Bowen. That's my big concern. Kudus to Cole Palmer. No, just keep Kudus for now. Make that switch next week or in Gameweek 16. There's no reason to do that now. And I don't know why you're spamming the chat, so you are timed out. 12 minutes to lock in. Any news other than Nunez? No, at the moment, I don't think so. I am checking on Twitter right now to see if there's anything, but I don't think that's the case. We've got 10 minutes now. It's going to be 10 minutes left until the deadline, so be sure to lock in your teams and your transfers. Thank you very much, Relaxy Gamer. I appreciate that. Bench order for Archer, Trent, Lascelles, please. Trent will be last. It'd be Archer first, Lascelles second, Trent third. Who to start? Lamptey, Tsimikas, Taylor. I'd go for Lamptey, I think. Just about. Borro o Cash para Anderson. Y es difícil, pero yo vendería a Pedro Porro para Anderson. Who to start? Darwin or Mbumo, says Loki. Mbumo. How does the Spurs defense look? Pretty terrible, to be honest, but Pedro Porro is the best of a bad bunch with the attacking potential. Start Zinchenko, Trent, or Lascelles with Saliba and Mbumo in the team already. Yeah, I'd go for Lascelles. Cash to Gabriel for a -4 or roll, says Juntal. Yeah, just roll, like I mentioned earlier. I'd roll. Ward-Prowse or Eze for Matoma? Eze. Thoughts on playing or benching Livramento? Yeah, the big question is, will he start? I think I'd probably just play him, but it depends who you're playing him over. That's the big question. Share or Simicast, who to start? Share. Did Bowen travel with the team? No idea. Honestly, I have no idea if he traveled with the team. I am trying to check if there's any updates, but I haven't seen anything. Could Mabama start? There's the odd chance he will. I personally think it will be Danny Ings, if I'm not mistaken. I'm just going to have a quick look here, see if there's any updates on West Ham, and specifically on Jarrod Bowen, which we all care about. But yeah, I would guess that it would be Danny Ings starting. So yeah, we do have our own 23 likes. We are 27 away from 150. Let's be sure to get to that milestone before the end of the stream. Best captain for this game week, says Shady Allen. For me, assuming Son. Martinelli or Mbumo? Mbumo. Mitoma to Eze or Mbumo? Long-term Mbumo's the play, so I'd go for him. Save yourself a transfer. Start Lascelles or Lamptey. I'd go for Lascelles. Cash to James, have Gabriel, Mitchell, Simicast and Kabore. I can see what you're doing there. And look, if Reece James can stay fit, he's a great option. But yeah, I just don't know if I trust him. I really don't know if I trust him. Martinelli to Mbumo. I think I'd hold Martinelli for this week and then make that switch next week in 14. But ultimately, yes, Mbumo's a better option. Navid says he's got 2 free transfers. What should I do? Well, your team looks good here. You can consider Diaby or even Foden to Eze. You could consider that and then move them on to Palmer in Gameweek 16. But you don't really need to tinker. I think your team is absolutely fine. Who should I transfer out? Burnout for 5.3 million. I think Saliba is now 5.4. That's the case. That's a bit unfortunate. Just gonna have a quick look just to confirm. I think Saliba is 5.4. Let's see, Saliba. Yeah, he is 5.4. That's a shame. I'd say Joachim Andersen would be a great option for you. Buying to Palmer or roll? Roll. Should I transfer Burnout? Yeah, I would transfer him out and I'd go to Anderson potentially. No, I wouldn't captain Ings. I would just think he will start up front. Would you start Cash or Livramento alongside Sufa and Gay? Out of those two, probably Cash. I'm just a bit fearful of Livramento being subbed on for a 1-pointer. Why Son? I covered this earlier. He's playing against the high line. Aston Villa have been poor on their travels. I also think Spurs versus Villa will be a high-scoring game. And apart from Man City, Liverpool, I look at the rest of the matches and I see a lot of low-scoring encounters, like Chelsea, Newcastle, Arsenal, Brentford. Start Diaby or Mbumo. From those two, it'd be Diaby. Son or Haaland for captain? Son. Start Lascelles or Cash, says Antoine. I'd go for Lascelles. Start Simicast or Cash, it'd be Cash. I think Cash will start personally. Would you rather be hit by lightning or fall from 4 floors? Jesus, I mean... Probably be hit by lightning? I don't know. Honestly, they're both terrible. Start Alvarez or Watkins? I'd go for Watkins. Mikalenko, Pedro Porro or Livramento to play? Pick 2. Mikalenko and Pedro Porro. Is Saka must-have? He's not an absolute must-have, but is he much better than Martinelli in FPL? Yeah, I think so. So it's worth making that upgrade if possible. Start Johnston or Areola? Johnston. Would you start Alvarez or Adingra? I'd go for Alvarez. I don't think Nketiah will start there, Zane. Start 2. Pedro Porro, Trent and Gabriel. Pedro Porro and Gabriel. I bench Trent. J War 10 says Mitchell or Gay. Not much difference there. Gay's better for bonus points. Mitchell has more attacking potential. I slightly prefer Gay for the bonus points. Jota start. Maybe. You could see a Jota, Darwin Nunez, Salah front three, but... Well, not expecting that. Would you rather question? Yeah, neither did I, to be honest. It caught me off guard. It's K-Man says, thanks, Dylan. Thank you very much. Cash to Gabriel says Remzinho. Yeah, but if you can wait another week and then go to Saliba instead, I think that's the best way to go about it. Dawn says Gordon to Eze, then in Gameweek 16, -4 from Eze to Palmer. Yeah, that's a good shout. I mean... Could you avoid the -4 hit from Eze to Palmer? That'd be my question, but good transfer plans overall. I do like Gordon over the next few still, to be fair. But there's no right or wrong answer. It's all down to personal preference. Start Archer or Adingra? I'd personally go for Adingra. Foden or Diaby to sell? Diaby. I'd rather sell Diaby. Eze or Palmer to buy? Eze, and then you can make the switch in 16, as Dawn just mentioned. Haaland starts, yeah, that should be of no surprise to anyone. I would have been very surprised if he didn't. But yeah, in terms of Bowen, unfortunately, I don't think we'll get any news, unfortunately. But with Erling Haaland, let's see if I can get it up. See if I can see on Twitter. At the moment, I can't. Oh yeah, so according to FPL Tony, who did help us, by the way, in UCL Fantasy, he is very reliable. He said that Haaland and Foden start. And because of that, I brought both of them in on the wild card, and that basically helped me get 30-something points at the very least, maybe a bit less if I would have captained Kane anyway. But yeah, according to FPL Tony, Haaland does start, which shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. Diaby to Eze and Bowen to Mbumo, says JWar10. I would keep Bowen, but I would do Diaby to Eze. Yeah, I think that's decent. Mbumo or Edouard? Mbumo. Is Aina an optional choice? Yeah, he's decent. As a 4th or 5th defender, he's absolutely fine, but just not a big fan of Fulham defensively. I'm not entirely convinced there. Thank you, Nasty Biscuit Box. Great name. I also wish you a really good week. Start Archer or Alvarez? I'd go for Alvarez. Yep, it looks like it's confirmed. And also thank you, Lager, for moderating the chat. No spamming. Cash, Simicast, or Lamptey, says Twisted Parky. From those three, it would be Cash. Start Saliba or Gay? Saliba. Mbumo or Edouard? Mbumo. I know that does seem contradictory, but I'm also playing it based on who's the best FPL asset. Mbumo or Edouard, yeah, I just said start Archer or Gordon. Gordon. Eze 2 goals and 1 assist today. Diaby out, Eze in. Not so sure about that. If that's the case and I don't go for him, I'll probably be crying. If I save a transfer, I have 2, so I can get Mbumo and Eze for Bowen and Odegaard. Yeah, but by next week, you probably want to keep Bowen anyway. But Odegaard to Mbumo or Eze looks really good. The thing with Eze, though, is if you are buying him, you ideally would do it now and then have him for 3 game weeks, because buying him next week when he's facing West Ham away, not the easiest of games. Still not a bad time to buy him, but not ideal. Captain Son, Eze or Watkins? Son, in my opinion. Should I start Lascelles or Simicast? Lascelles. Cash or Porto? I'm guessing that's Borro. I personally prefer Borro just a little bit more. Lascelles or Cash? Lascelles. Ruben says Ariella to Johnston or Gordon to Mbumo. I would do Gordon to Mbumo overall. The thing is with Gordon, he's still a good option this week, in my opinion. Yeah, Haaland and Darwin starting. Yeah, it looks like they are. Martinelli or Mbumo? Mbumo. Start Solanke or Archer? Solanke. Gordon or Archer? Gordon. Jota or Archer? I would go for Archer. Cash or Gabriel? I'd go for Gabriel. And Captain Salah or Son? I would go for Son. We literally got 1 minute left, and I'm not going to lie, I am very tempted by a last minute switch, which would be Gordon or Diaby to Eze. And then in a few weeks' time, I would buy Palmer. But to be honest, with my team, I'm looking at it. Bowen's the only big doubt. If he doesn't play, I've got Archer coming in. And 2 free transfers next week could be great and massive. And either way, Mbumo is quite locked in Game Week 14 for one of those free midfielders. Gordon, Diaby, or Bowen if he's still out injured. So, yeah, it's a tricky one. It is a tricky one this week. But I think I'm going to hold and see what happens there. Diaby, Tottenham away. Bournemouth away. I mean, it's such a difficult one. You know what? It's a tricky decision. Yeah, 1 minute. I mean, it's literally like 25 seconds to go, to be honest. But yeah, in terms of the poll, roll the transfer is winning. Then it's Diaby to Eze. Then it's Gordon to Eze. Then Bowen to Eze. Those are the final results. I am really considering Diaby to Eze, to be honest. I think I might make a last minute switch. I don't know why I'm doing this, but why not? Can I even confirm it? We can then find out. Yeah, that's it. I think I actually could have done it, but I think because of the price changes thing, it just didn't do it. But either way, it's fine. I'm probably just going to roll. Well, I have rolled. And next week, I will make the transfers. Probably just Mbumo in for Diaby. I think that is the play. I do like Gordon long term. Of course, the next few fixtures don't look particularly great. But yeah, there you go. Well, that's already done. I can't do Diaby to Eze. I was considering it. I almost did it, but in the end, I think the page wasn't refreshed, so as a result, I couldn't do it. So yeah, Lascelles or Cash we covered. What else do we have? Oh yeah, Lascelles or Cash. Yeah, that question's been so, that's been covered a lot. I've gone for Lascelles. You can see it on my team. Starting Saliba, Gay, and Lascelles. Bench order, Archer, Zinchenko, and Trent. Good luck. 1 minute to lock in. Matoma to Eze, done. Good stuff, Punjabi. I would have done the same thing. The best captain aside from Haaland. Well, I think Son's the best captain anyway, to be fair. Thank you very much to Sahil. Yeah, time up. Just did Gordon to Eze. Yeah, I was also considering that as well, but I'm just going to go for it. I don't think it would count. I think by the time I did it, it probably was 59 seconds, so maybe you're right. Locked in. Good luck, guys. Likewise, Punjabi. Thank you very much, Dan J. Smith. I appreciate it. I changed Salah to Haaland cap. Yeah, Haaland's my captain, Salah's my vice. So only one change from the team selection, and that is basically Bowen not being my vice captain anymore. So what I said in my original team selection last week is what I've ended up doing, rolling the transfer, not going for Eze. Hopefully I don't regret it. Thank you, R. I appreciate the kind words, and thank you for tuning in. Thank God I benched Alvarez. He is benched in real life. Is he? Oof, that is... Yeah, I had a good feeling about him, so there you go. It does make sense. He did travel to Argentina and Brazil. Let me check if I can see where you got that from. So yeah, apparently the big news is Darwin starts, Alvarez is benched. Yeah, so according to the FPL newsletter, Haaland and Doku start, Alvarez not in the 11. So yeah, that is the big news that we've got. I'll try and get it on screen just before we go. And of course, we'll go for some predictions as well. So yeah, let me just get this up. All right, so according to the FPL newsletter, be sure to check them out. They say Haaland and Doku start, Alvarez not in the 11. They are quite reliable when it comes to Manchester City news. And apparently Darwin Nunez does start as well. So yeah, I do feel for those of you that do have Alvarez, that is a bit of a shame. Alvarez has been quite frustrating recently in FPL and UCL Fantasy. He's been benched constantly, actually, so that is a bit of a shame. But yeah, that is the big news. Let's now go to the predictions very quickly. Oh yeah, I didn't even have it on. All right, so let's go to the fixtures. Let me just... Oh yeah, actually, I shouldn't have done that. All right, so let's just go down here to the fixtures and do some predictions. So Man City, Liverpool. I'm going to go for 3-1 Manchester City. It'll be a bit closer than that, to be fair. But I'm going to go for Man City 3-1. Burnley, West Ham. My original prediction there would have been 3-1 West Ham. Tricky one. It's a really tricky one this week, actually, to predict all these games. But yeah, 3-1 Man City. I think I'm going to go for West Ham to win 2-1. Luton Town Palace. I'm going to go for 1-0 Crystal Palace. Newcastle Chelsea. That's a difficult one too. I'm going to go for... a draw. 1-1 Newcastle Chelsea. Nottingham Forest Brighton. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Nottingham Forest. Sheffield United Bournemouth. Difficult one as well to predict. I think I'm going to go for a draw. Probably another 1-1. Brentford Arsenal. 2-1 Arsenal, dare I say. Although sometimes coming off the international break, they haven't been too convincing. Spurs Aston Villa. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Everton Man United. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Everton win. And then Fulham Wolves. Probably a 1-1 draw am I going to go for again? I'm quite mixed on that. I think I'm going to go for 1-1 between Fulham and Wolves too. I've gone for 3 1-1 draws, haven't I? Yeah. Maybe I'd go for a 2-1 Bournemouth. I mean, would I? Yeah, I think I'm just going to stick with those predictions. Something like that would be my score predictions for the week. I might update them on the Discord server later on if I have the time. And I end this poll as well. Thank you for those that voted. In the end, rolling the transfer did win out. Yeah, the FPL newsletter, I did cover them. I subbed an Archer instead of Gordon. Not sure if I went through. Let's find out. Let me know in the reaction stream tomorrow, if possible. There'll be a reaction stream and you can let me know there. I could have captained Son, but a little groggy. Went Salah. Yeah, I would have gone for Son myself. Good luck with the final result. Will Lamptey start, says Zaid. I think so, but I can't guarantee you it. Captain Watkins, wish me good luck. I mean, I wouldn't mind that too if Watkins does really well. Aston Villa get the result. That wouldn't be too shabby. Good luck with that. Let's see how it all turns out. We do have 138 likes. Let's be sure to get this to 150. We're only 12 away, so let's keep on pushing for that. Thank you to those that sent in super chats today, and also all the channel members and patrons. I'll try to give a quick shout out to the channel members and patrons before we go. So let's see if we can get that up. All right, so give me a long list, but we are going to go through them. All right, so a shout out goes to all the channel members and patrons, which include Mario Barantes, Alex Orloff, Federico Simios, Nicola Ilev, Andres Monroy, Andres Suarez, Luis Alexandra Birella, Ben Lockett, Lovro Zuvic, and Rodrigo Urias, Federico Caliso. Thank you for supporting the channel. The same goes for Abraham Botros, Anish Johnny, Milner, Amanda Var, Jazabi, Donna Cunha, Ananda Peroni, Exotic Forex, Unruly DMV, Fahad Islam, Carlos P, Mauro Rodriguez, Pablo Cordero, Daniel Minassians, I think it is, A. Lavigny, Joao Cabral, Leandro Amoroso, Simon Spears, Ulises Casares, The Great Aditya, Ventislav Vachev, Abhishek Patra, Cat78681, Bestie D, No Tharma, Julio Peña, Birkan Atiklian. I probably absolutely butchered that, by the way. Apologies, Birkan and everyone else that I butchered. Sergi Kulesha, That Air, FPL Eric, Ripstars United, Diego Zamora, George Popescu, Alex Leadham, Matt Steen, Gabriel Fernandez, and John Granquist, who's been a member for over 2 years. So thank you to everyone for supporting the channel. It's massively appreciated. And to those that send in the super chats, like I said, we are now 10 likes away from 150. So let's be sure to do that. And let's go through the final questions. Eze captain, a wild one. Well, good luck. I mean, I'm kind of hoping Eze doesn't do well, to be honest, because I almost got him in. And it would be a big regret to... for him to do really well and not to have bought him in. Singh says, did Matoma to Mbeumo, but feel like I should have gone for Palmer and Saliba starting. Yeah, but to be honest, Mbeumo's a great long-term purchase, and I think that's the play. Leno, Lascelles, Gabriel Zuma, Palmer, captain. You captain Palmer? Wow, that's an interesting one. Good luck, mate. Son, Bowen, Salah, Haaland, Alvarez, Watkins. Twister Parker says, Salah captain. Hopefully Haaland comes off before serious damage. Then Alvarez comes on and does something. Yeah, I mean, let's wait and see. I've got Haaland captain, and I'm backing him to score a goal or two. Yeah, I made my predictions already. If you just rewind a few minutes, you'll see it. I went on the fixtures tab and went through all of them. First on the bench is McTominay, says Nick N. Some interesting picks in there, that's to say the least. Before serious damage, not after. Yeah, of course. MacDrax says, thoughts, Areola, Simicas, Cash, Trippier, Salah, Son, captain. Yeah, I think your team is really good. Although I'm not a big fan of Palmer this week, and also Simicas, I'm not really backing him to do anything. I think your captaincy choice is great, and that could be enough to secure a green arrow. Blockbuster draw in the early kickoff, I would not mind that. That's what I would like to happen, or a Liverpool win. But yeah, let's wait and see. Captain Watkins says, okay, good luck. And to everyone else watching, it's been a pleasure. Of course, I've still got the fixtures on screen, but just to reiterate, my final team is what I discussed in last week's team selection video, the original one. Ariola's in goal, Saliba, Lascelles, Anderson's my back three. The midfield five is Salah, Saka, Gordon, Bowen, and Diaby. Haaland and Watkins are up top. My bench is Turner, Archer, Cash, and Simicas. Next week, I'm looking to buy Mbeumo or either Gordon or Diaby. If Bowen is still out and his injury is serious, then he would be the one making way. And then in the weeks to come, I'm also looking to buy Palmer and potentially upgrade one of my goalkeepers. And I'm really looking at Raya in place of Turner, and Areola would be on the bench. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it or found it useful, smash the like button and subscribe for new. We're trying to get this stream to over 150 likes, and we're making more progress towards 22,000 subscribers and beyond. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and check all the links in the description below for the Patreon, Championships Discord server, and the FPL League. If you've got my UCL Fantasy videos, there's also a link to the UCL Fantasy League in those streams and videos as well. So thank you, Goldhead. I finished with Cash to Saliba and Son captain. I think that's looking really good this week. I'm a bit envious of those that have Son captain, so good luck with that. I heard that Alvarez was benched and I switched him to Darwin. That's good. That's good stuff. I actually backed Alvarez over Darwin, but of course, we did get news earlier that Darwin is going to start. And with Alvarez towards the very end, I think to the deadline, I think we saw that he is benched. Unfortunately, I've been wanting to bring Alvarez for a while now. Yeah, it's been a shame. He had a really good start to the season. He was kind of matching Haaland, but I even said a few weeks ago, there's going to be a point where Haaland breaks away, and that's starting to happen now. But it is a bit of a shame, to be honest. Yeah, Paul, I speak Spanish, got dual nationality, so yeah, I pretty much speak at home. That's the reason why I speak it, but my English is better, that's for sure. Thank you to everyone for watching. There could be a reaction stream tomorrow. I'll let you guys and girls know. And of course, there's going to be more UCL fantasy content. Yesterday, I uploaded the best wildcard team for matchday 5. The day before that, the best limitless team. All the content for Gameweek 13 is covered. And of course, starting from next week, all the energies and focus will be directed towards Gameweek 14 in FPL and matchday 5 of UCL fantasy. Take care, enjoy the football, and I'll see you next time.